live now, Mike,
We're
and
live.
yeah, here we are with Mike Reese. We are here, and Mike is kindly enough to basically join us because he's incredibly busy. Mike is the VP of Asset Production at KitBash 3D. Mike and I have been talking to each other for how long, Mike? Have been like going back and forth.
I think it's actually been around it. It feels like a year now
Year now.
where me and you really got connected, and I mean, time's been flying pretty fast, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it's been around a year.
A year now, yeah. So Mike is great to work with, to talk to, and it's always fun. I'm always learning new things from Mike, and super happy to have Mike here to talk about all things Kid Bash. Also, we have amazing giveaways, exclusive giveaways. Thank
Exclusive.
Exclusive,
Exclusive.
exactly. And it's there's a ton of them. And for everybody watching right now, you guys are gonna get so lucky. You're gonna get so much free things. And so stay tuned for that. But Mike, thanks for joining me. I highly appreciate you and being here. And maybe you can introduce yourself, talk a little bit more about yourself, Kid Bash, your experience, animation, games. You guys do so much.
Yeah. So my name is Mike Reese. I'm the VP of Asset Production for KitBash 3D, as Harvey said. I've been working in the 3D industry for over 15 years. Um, a little bit about me. I actually started out doing some 3D modeling and texturing for games as a freelancer. Some games I've worked on uh, was Night at the Museum. I think two. I did an airplane model and a car model for that. This is this is going deep. I first started out when I was in college. I worked for a company that was doing the Damnation game.
Mm,
If like anyone, so what was really cool about that particular game is that it was the first time it was still in like Unreal 3, but they were trying to push the open world aspect, and it was very challenging within Unreal at that time. Not so much now, but did lots and collisions and all sorts of maps and stuff like that. But then I actually went into the uh, then I went then I went into a whole different industry, still in 3D, but I went into the e-learning industry, where like I worked for a company that did 3D training with like manufacturing and with big equipment, and so I actually did visual effects and 3D modeling, texturing for that industry, which is very similar to like the VFX industry, just
yeah.
for a whole different set of people. Did that for a long time, and then about 4 years ago, started working for KitBash 3D, where I now manage their entire art department, and it's been really incredible, kind of coming full circle, starting in games, doing that, doing some of the e-learning industry for a while, coming back to VFX and games, building humongous worlds, building stories, trying to enable everyone across the world to build their own stories. And it's been fantastic, and learned a ton. Got to meet amazing people like you, Harvey, and other people like in Rekindled and art directors and all sorts of stuff. That's been a ton of fun and very rewarding. And
That's amazing.
yeah, that's kind of where we're at today. We're
Yeah.
still building lots of worlds. We're thinking about animation all the time. We're partnering with different companies such as Epic to build like worlds for Fortnite Creative. Um, and within all of that, there's uh, games, there's animation, there's everything that you could think of that we're thinking about when
Yeah.
building assets, when building stories, when building worlds.
It's just getting bigger and bigger, right?
Yes, the
Yeah.
what's so cool is that the scope of what we do is very big, but the community is still, so tight and so
That's
small,
true.
and it's so
Yeah.
interesting how, you know we still be like, oh, this person, wow, I just worked with him. That's so crazy that it's like the community is still super tight and very small, but the impact of 3D across the world is so huge. And
Yeah.
so I think our scope is continuously increasing, like as well as what what you're doing, to enable
Yeah.
like other animators across
Exactly.
multiple. disciplines, which is amazing.
Amazing, amazing. So yeah, no, thanks a lot for that intro, Mike. Obviously, you're very experienced. You've seen a little bit of everything, which is great. This is why you're so good at what you do. For everybody on stream right now, commenting and watching, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. We're already having like some cool comments, like, how about those cool Mike glasses?
Oh,
I
should I
agree.
talk about them real quick? Should I talk
Yes,
about
please
these
do.
glasses?
Always
Okay.
been curious.
Okay. So these are I don't wear glasses for seeing. I wear these glasses for eye protection. I've been
Oh, I thought you were
uh
gonna say for cool points because they're definitely
no,
working.
well, so ever since like for like 12 years I've been wearing eye protection like glasses to help keep my eyes fresh. These are gunner glasses. These are like the OG original gaming glasses that were made for people looking at screens the whole time. So I use these to help protect my eyes from like screen exhaustion. And so I have
Mm,
these. So I have these ones for home, which are my favorite cool ones. I
yeah.
have a very blank face, so they help to like help shape my face. And then I have some like smaller ones for when I'm at the office.
That
But
is
yeah,
amazing.
highly recommend it. They've
Yeah,
saved my eyes quite a bit over the years, um,
yeah,
and I highly encourage that like anyone looking at screen should have some sort of like eye protection,
for
just to make
sure.
sure that you know.
I have these.
There you go.
Like
Yeah.
they
So
don't
you have
have.
the clear ones,
I
like
have the clear ones. They have like the blue light protection. I don't know if they
yeah.
work as good as yours though.
So um, for what I've known, there's the yellow tinted ones, which are, but there's also the clear ones for that still have the blue light protection. Um, mine I've just always gotten the yellow tinted ones, and I've
Yeah,
just kind of I've
they look
I've
good.
gotten used to them. Yeah,
They look good. They
they
look good.
give
Like
a little more color to my whole
I don't,
situation.
yeah, I don't know if I will be able to recognize you without your glasses, Mike.
I don't recognize myself without my glasses
It's
sometimes.
part of your personality now. That's it.
Same with the hat. I'm
Same
I'm
with that.
always
Yeah, that's
wearing a
it.
hat. Yeah,
And the hat as well. I'm pretty sure people tell me all the time they don't recognize me without my hat, so that
yeah.
happens. Awesome. Like going back to it. We having questions. Please bring your questions. The more the merrier. Just know questions and comments, and especially fun comments, will all be tied to a giveaway that we're gonna do later. That Mike is gonna do tell you more about in a bit. There's lots of stuff to be given away, so the more you guys comment, the better you get. So please bring those comments and keep on talking, and then we'll also answer your questions live here, like actual questions about what we're talking about, not about Mike's glasses.
Yeah.
So, so please keep bring your questions because we're happy to answer them. So we'll continue talking, and then we'll every so often we'll answer some questions. So, Mike, look, we've been working together for years now, and I met Max originally.
Mhm.
For at first, we met in a Polish convention called Promised Land, and Max is such a cool dude, and that we hit it off immediately. And something that you guys probably don't know here on the stream, everybody that has been subscribed to the channel, you know about Proxima, my studio, my game studio, and you know about the game Warship Jolly Roger. What you probably don't know is that we've been collaborating with KitBash 3D for years now. I feel like 2 or 3 years maybe, and it's been an amazing way to collaborate because there's a lot to be said about indie developers like ours that have to build brand new worlds that requires normally a team of hundreds of artists. The more AAA the game, the more artists you need to have because every single thing, every leaf, every tree, every branch need to be created by somebody. So
Mhm.
KitBash comes in super clutch for everybody that is either building a game or for any animator out there, if you actually want to build a set for your animations to live in instead of just being plain, it's a godsend because the quality of their essence is amazing. So, having said all that, can you talk a little bit about some of the work that you guys have done over the years with some of the biggest players in the industry, and how beneficial has that been to the industry?
Yeah, so we've collaborated a ton with our kits and our assets over the years. A lot of it sometimes has come from like the VFX industry, but a ton of it now has been coming from the game industry. One of the big ones, in terms of us partnering with a big player in the space, has been the Epic Games partnership, where we are currently helping to build assets for their UEFN IP program.
Yeah.
So there's lots that you can check out there. So we've helped them with their Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which has been crazy because I don't know about you, Harvey, but I grew up on Teenage Mutant
Oh,
Ninja Turtles.
100%. I grew up on those.
So when we got a chance to work with Epic and Paramount, we were in the room like, what's going to be the most valuable? What are people going to recognize? What's going to really get people excited? And we're building like the Channel 6 news tower. We're building the Technodrome, right? So if you look
Yeah.
at if you go into UEFN and go to Fortnite Creative and you build out a level, or you go into the games that they made with those assets, the TMNT Dimensions game, and you go
Yeah.
play like all the environment art that's unique to Turtles.
It's this
That's
stuff, right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's stuff that we help build, especially all of the branded like the the Clown Time Arcade. Yeah, so all this right here. So
Yeah.
these are all assets that, or at least a lot of these, we help to build.
Yeah.
The whole Technodrome, this right here, the Clown Time Arcade. And so what's really cool about what Epic is doing here and how we're helping, like, is that they're making it very easy for people to make their own types of games. So one of the cool things that um, was thought about during this process is they wanted to build a beat 'em up game, right? Because there's so
Mm,
many. When you think of turtle video games, you think
of
of
course.
Turtles in
Beat 'em up.
Time. You think of
Yeah.
those like beat 'em up. So like they decided to say, hey, we're going to build this type of game. Let's make sure that the assets support that, and so that
Yeah.
when you're going left to right, or when you're scrolling through the level, you have these iconic figures like the bunny from like the Rabbit Hutch or the Slash and Cash Gym. We have the whole layer, the Turtles layer. That
Yeah.
all needed to be really authentic and also make an impact, but also help, drive players through the game so that they feel like they're within the Turtle universe.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. On top of that, we helped with The Walking Dead, the whole prison area, and that was really cool, bringing zombies to life within Fortnite. And then the most recent one was Squid Game, which was a lot
Oh,
of
yeah. That
fun.
was huge as well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we helped to build some of those environments. I think one of the most crazy and prominent ones was uh, the whole like that whole colorful room where it's like an MC Escher room. Like
I'll try to
those
get it.
assets were actually really complicated. It seems simple, but they're
Yeah.
actually a lot more complicated because one of the things, Harvey, that is that with games you create systems like
Yeah.
in order to make things faster and easier, like, and to work with each other really easily. Well,
Absolutely.
within Fortnite,
Yeah.
that's taken to the nth degree, where like
Yeah.
everything has to be within a certain system, and they have to work together
Absolutely.
to work for not only these like islands, but for any you know what players are doing. What players are doing is they're bringing assets from like other Fortnite uh, like assets that are totally available, but mixing them with these new customized and unique assets that we've helped to build.
It's amazing.
And so
And
they have to like coexist within the same world.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So they have to actually still match the same metrics for the people that know,
Yes.
right? Like it needs to actually
Yes.
be like you can use something from like game like Squid Games and
Hmm.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and put them together, and they still should actually work well together, right?
Totally. And one of the things that we always keep in mind, especially with these different types of experiences is um, gameplay and animation and what the player is going to be doing. So one really good example of that is for The Walking Dead is one of the experiences and the emotions that we wanted to get across for players is the survival aspect of it.
Right.
One of the ways to do that is with makeshift barricades. And so one of the things that we needed to make sure is that the player could, well, I guess one, the creator could use these barricades to create really fun experiences where the player could duck, dodge, and go in and out
Hmm.
and feel like it's a part of the gameplay. They could vault over it. So we had to make sure that we built a variety of different types of barricades at very specific types of metrics to make sure that it felt unique while
Hmm.
also staying within certain dimensions so that the animation worked across any character that you had, because
That you
Fortnite
had.
has
Absolutely.
hundreds and hundreds of characters, and the animation and how it plays is so important. So
Yeah.
we had to make sure that like all of that worked together really well.
Completely. So, like, for those as well that don't know, is like a level design in a game normally requires the art director or the head of level design to basically, especially in art, there's an art side of things and the design side of things, and these two sides need to work together with animation, because what we need to find out, especially between art and animation, a lot of the time is basically how tall things are, how small things are, and all of this is basically it means that as for an animator, when you're actually trying to sit on a chair, those chairs are all the same size. There's no
Hmm.
different sizes. And if you have different sizes, there needs to be for a really good reason or
Hmm.
have those things. Same thing when you have a game and you go into cover and you come out of cover and you have to shoot over cover or shoot behind like
Hmm.
on the side of cover. Those things need to have a specific metric or number attached to it, so you know that basically the rules of the game are consistent throughout, and that applies to both the player but also the enemies as well. So like all
Hmm.
the enemies and the NPCs that are shooting at you or trying to sit down as well, all of those need to follow the same metrics. So a lot of what we do in animation, even though this stream might seem unrelated to animation because we're talking with like people that are doing modeling, but it's actually super important. And when you are in game and you are in the trenches, you start to understand the importance of art and animation coming together.
Hmm.
So, and it's a constant dialogue. This is why I like to speak with Mike, because the way we talk when we have something cool working behind the scenes that we cannot spoil it yet, but a lot of the talk is about the metrics of it all. Like, so if the character does this, then how high is the thing? Or if the character
Hmm.
does this, then can we actually vault over it? And that's really important for animations, because if you don't have those things, it means that there's no rules to the world and nothing. It's very much like an architect. A house needs to be a
Yeah.
certain height, or a ceiling needs to be a certain height in every house for a reason, or most of the houses. And that's kind of what we're trying to find in gameplay. So it's super important.
Yeah, and I'll also say that when it comes to like animation, the character the the characters plus the environment, that makes the story.
Hmm.
And so we have to support each other 100% like all the time. There's um a compelling story or a compelling game, it's going to include a compelling character, and then the other character is the environment that they interact with.
Hmm.
And so when we're building like assets, we have to think about not just, hey, we're building a tech whatever. It's we're building this black market.
Yeah.
We're building a specific thing with a story in mind, so that when we go to design and we go to create these assets, we're always keeping the player, the
Hmm.
character, like in mind, because that's what makes it compelling to use. Is people drop an asset and they're like, I can't wait to put my character, or I have a character in mind that would work perfect for this environment. And then with our gameplay ready assets, we're making sure those all have collisions. They all, you can just drop a character right in and start to play with them, start to add in your, the bits of animation that you want, but they have to go together. And and the best stories and the best games you know, when you see the character interact with the environment, that's when you start to really feel that
Yeah,
this is a complete world that these people have built.
I completely agree. I couldn't agree more. And also some of the things that so UFN is amazing
Mhm.
because it allows you to create worlds that like for anybody that hasn't been into games that they can actually just plop a character and you have the animation logic so you can walk around
Mhm.
with the character like Fortnite, and then you have the levels where like KitBash is building some of them, so you can basically live in these levels and then you can create your design. But I hope that what UFN is doing more than anything is for people to understand their limitations within those systems. Because what happens is that once you have a specific set of animations that are already pre-established and a level that is already pre-established, you, especially if you actually want to like make your ideas even bigger, you'll realize that what if I could do my own level? What if I can actually do my own animations? And
Mhm.
I think that actually becomes even more. I hope that bug for gameplay really comes to life because there's nothing better than actually starting to build everything from scratch. So some of the conversations that we have with Mike is very much about we have nothing.
Yeah.
So now, okay, so we do the models here on one side and Mike does his thing, and then we do build the animation logic and the animations and it's my thing. And then we come together and we're like, okay, so how does these two things interact with each other? But it's genuinely going from zero to then having a world, and that's really magical when you see it happening. It never gets old for sure.
One of the I think like it is really cool. I love those spark moments
Mm,
when it's like we're starting from nothing. We, it's kind of like the blank page, and it's like I'm gonna start making my first couple lines on this page, and we'll see where it ends up. Then once you actually see what things could be,
yeah,
it's very motivating just to keep on going and um, starting from scratch, or even starting with some assets or something that you already can like play with can also have that spark like, wow, I didn't know I could do this, or I didn't know that this was possible. Let me keep on going. Let me just see how far I can get, and
yeah, yeah,
th- that's one of the things that we're trying to solve. I think together, Harvey, is we're trying to make it to where people don't feel overwhelmed with the blank page, and it's like, well, it doesn't have to be blank. Here's some tools to
yeah,
get you started, to get that spark, to get that momentum, because there's so much creativity and so many ideas, especially now with like indie games blowing up for
yeah,
good reason, because there's so many ideas that now can get out into the world that people don't even know were possible and can
yeah,
inspire others. So that's
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly the what I was going with it is very much the idea that sometimes you just need to play with something to then go like one step backward and then just go, and now what if I could do this? And what if I could do this
Hmm.
other thing? And what if I could, and you just keep on going backwards. And I think that's the beauty of KitBash because what KitBash does, and Mike will probably show you Cargo in just a minute, and this is how we use KitBash at Proxima, is very much that like you can have a whole kit of things that you can basically just like you have a cyberpunk kit and then you can just play with that. But for studios like ours, we want to basically mix and match things and we want to make sure that we can create our own worlds, but at the same time we don't want to craft everything from the ground up. Like every single bottle needs to be crafted and modeled and stuff. And I think what KitBash does so well is that you can basically mix and match those elements into create your own thing, right? And what Mike was saying before about the like the Ninja Turtles is very much the matrix match, and then you can basically play your animations on the same thing, and that actually is when creativity comes to live to light for us because we now created something completely different from all these
Hmm.
assets that KitBash had, and then we mix in our own stuff as well, and we don't have to create as much as a result, which is great.
Yeah, I would love to know a bit about that process, Harvey. Like,
Mhm.
what has it been like for you to start out with um, to be able to mix and match? Because
Yeah,
a lot of studios are doing that nowadays. Think of like Expedition 33. They used a lot of assets
exactly.
that were not their own, but they decided, like let's make sure that we can build the world quickly, but then still have the compelling characters and the compelling like heroes that we want for the game.
Exactly. And we'll probably talk more about this when the game comes out, but we
Mm-hmm.
started even before Expedition, we started with this idea because I think I don't know the game director very much. I spoke with him once for Expedition, but he's a really nice guy and he also comes from experience in games. But I think that what you see in AAA a lot of the time, it's like people call it bloat, but it's not bloat. You need a lot of people to actually make big things from scratch because a lot of it is to do with the IP and the ownership, and you want to make sure that every single asset is your own. All of these things basically come into play. But what you also realize is that, or at a small scale, if you want to do something as polished as Clair Obscur, it's nearly impossible for you to have the budget necessary as a new studio to make a game, and especially when you haven't made a game before. Like as confident as you might be, that there's always this feeling of like, what if this doesn't work? So this is where I think like making sure that you find a way around issues or like money specifically that you can basically save up and invest in other things and become super crucial. So when I spoke with Max way back in the day before we started collaborating, was very much this idea that the biggest department in every studio is normally the art department.
Mm-hmm.
And the art department normally is divided into multiple rows of art. So there's technical art, there's actually level art, there's character art, there's cloth, there's like, there's so many things, right? And within those departments, there's lots of people. So how can we actually kind of like compress these things into a way that is manageable so we can basically focus on the actual gameplay and like
Mm-hmm.
the actual fun of the game. And when you start thinking about stuff, then you start realizing that that world building is the thing that takes the longest, more than animation, more than anything else, because once again, like every leaf needs to be modeled, everything needs to be like, and then it takes a long time to get there. So this is why when I found KitBash and I found the quality of the assets and I spoke with Max, to me it was a no-brainer. So when I saw Clair Obscur come out, I was like, to me it was proof that this works. The stuff that was a theory before, it actually works well and it's actually really, really good. So we're more excited than ever, especially after seeing the game work so well. I think this is going to be great for us as well.
Amazing.
Yeah,
It's
man.
really cool.
So we have um, like a technical question for you.
Sure.
So, from Blastoid, what are some
Amazing name.
scenarios in your work when you see the limitations of technology and maybe wonder if this would make it way better than it is now? Man.
Yeah, I'm gonna read the question. What are some scenarios in your work where you see the limitations of technology and maybe you wonder if this is, well, okay, so this is interesting, Blastoid, because we've always kind of been working against technology because we always want to push further. And so one of the philosophies that we have is that we don't chase after where, this is going to be a hockey reference, but we don't chase after where the puck is, but where it's going to be. So when and this has happened a ton during my time at KitBash, is um, we knew, because we have lots of people that we talk with in the industry of like how technology is going to evolve. And just to be like really clear, it's like when KitBash first started, you're looking at 4 gigs of VRAM being high and having certain types of graphics cards and CPUs. But if we kept on building for that when those came out, then we would always be behind the curve. So especially when I started, it's how do we build for where it's going to be so that people can always feel like they have the highest quality that they can get at that time. And so, it's a constant balance between, how are we going to build these assets so that they have really high quality, knowing that maybe at this very moment, some people with lower end machines may struggle, but that's going to have to be okay because as stuff gets cheaper, I know that that's not always the case, but so technology generally becomes cheaper over time, so that people can always say like, oh my gosh, I can't believe the qualities of the quality of these assets, what they're able to do, how they're able to be used, um, and what we also try and do is not only just build to that, resolution and that quality, but also give people options. And it's like, great, you can have the 4K if you need it, but 2K and 1K are available in case you don't. That's cool too. So it's about pushing ourselves, to kind of figure out what those limits are, and we've done that a lot of times. But then also giving people options to dial it back if they want. So it's that balance between the two.
It's a great answer. Love it. Love it. Love it. Um, so we have a few, like York here just says, what's up? York is also a YouTuber. What's up, York? I'm glad to see you here. He's also really good. I love his channel. Go and follow him. He's amazing. We have another question for you. How do you use AI with animation at pro level? Actually, it's for me. It's not for you.
I can still talk about using AI
Please do.
if you want,
Please do.
because
Yeah.
it's a really touchy subject. But I guess I'll say right off the bat, we don't use AI to build assets. We do not do that. We are like artists first. We employ concept artists, modelers, texture artists, and I can talk about the whole kit creation process at some point. But we value like everyone's like craft. But what we do use AI for is to help build those things faster. And so what like AI has helped us with is like enabling artists to potentially identify like areas that they're clicking 200 times and be like, can we build a tool to where you can get to the art faster? That's our goal, and that's my goal as a manager too. Is it's kind of like being that snowplow where you clear out all the gunk to get to what's most important. And what's most important is telling the story, doing the hard work of like making those stories, which that involves concepts, modeling, texturing, world building. But to get there, what like AI has done for us is that has given tools to artists to build tools to get to the art faster, so that we're not having to bug engineering to build us a tool, because we can take a first pass at building our own like little Blender add-on that will take care of 4 or 5 things at a time. And so we actually have our own little ways of building tools internally to help us do art better and faster. That's how
Yeah.
we use AI.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's a great answer. And I would say the same thing because we don't really use AI tools in animation per se. There's a few things, just so you know, as well, that Angus, there's a few things that are interesting out there. So I put out a video not long ago about Motorica AI. And Motoric AI is a very cool tool that basically solves an issue that is really boring in games, that allows you to basically like solve the idea of having to animate angles all the time. And in games, you have to have the control of the character. And as you control your character, you need to make sure that you do the 45s, minus 45s and 90s and stuff. And I don't know any animator that loves to do that. Most animators like to do the fun stuff like combat and stuff. So that tool specifically solves that issue from an AI standpoint, and I think it does it incredibly well. And I think if we have more of those, it would be super cool to have them, because I think those are the kind of tools that AI should basically solve, things that we don't want to do as
Yeah.
humans. They just do that instead and like let me have fun. So that's Motorica, and there's also Autodesk is doing a couple of them as well. But for me, it's very much, especially, it comes across more for the direction thing that I do in consulting, because I have to deal with multiple clients, multiple emails, different ways of contacting. And a lot of the time, it takes a long time to think of an answer for an email, or think of like the best way to say it, or I don't know, like a proposal perhaps that you know more or less what it needs to be, but it's not formatted correctly. Like it saves me time in that way. And I like that. So everything that I do normally comes from me, but is very much like, this is what I want. And then basically allowed to go back and forth a little bit. But I don't really use it per se to actually animate to save time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think is a tool for that. And I have a suspicion, and I go on in my videos, but people are lazy. Like this is one of the things that we learn in animation as well. Humans are lazy. If there's a simple way, easy way for us to do it, we'll do it that way instead of doing it in the most complex way, because
Mm.
this is what we're built to do, right? We created wheels so we don't have to walk in, all these other things, right? So AI might seem like a tool that saves you time in animation, but I think animation is one of those crafts that you really truly can master it by going through the hard road of learning the 12 principles and mastering them one by one until you understand what makes them human and what makes them connect with humans. And that's a trait that I don't think is teachable. Like people have taught me animation, but you really have to walk the path in order to learn animation, if that makes sense. And I don't think AI can do that for you.
Yeah, one of the things that I think about with what you said is the principles. There's um there could be a time when you can do a prompt that says, give me a Viking character doing a two-handed down slash that feels very impactful.
Hmm.
And that could be generated. And they'd be like, great, this looks awesome. But is it great? Is it awesome? The only way that you're going to know that is with the fundamentals.
That's it.
The same thing has to do with modeling, texturing, and art in general. We can have AI generate very pretty pictures, but then you can say, great, I'm going to turn this in. This is going to be awesome. But then someone who has art fundamentals like the lighting is strange. This doesn't feel integrated. The color palette's way off. Like this doesn't feel good. And so that's why AI is a great tool,
Yeah.
but tools have to be paired with fundamentals. And I don't personally see getting around fundamentals, especially if you want to make something that's quality,
Yeah.
because those fundamentals are always going to be there and they're based off of like the lowest common denominator in terms of we have created these fundamentals based off of our lived experiences across time,
That's true.
and so you can generate things that potentially will be good, but those will always need to be incorporated into a world that needs to feel like alive, and so really those should not um, we will always use those tools or those fundamentals to review against the output of whatever we're making.
Yeah.
And if it's generated with AI, it may be good or it may not be good, or it may be good in some contexts and not in others. But you always have to have those fundamentals in order to make something that is truly going to be um, worth talking and seeing
Yeah.
and playing.
Completely. I just want to add something because as you were talking about it, that makes complete sense. And I think that there's another aspect of AI as well, the human element of it. People talk about this a lot, but to me, at least, is the fact that whenever you see a piece of art that is really good, like if you think about the best animation ever, right? Like something that you like, Steamboat Willie, for example, when you look at it, what you're seeing is beautiful because it was done in a specific time with a specific quality at the height of the epitome of animation at that point. But I think what we're seeing in reality is actually a story behind any piece of art. Like
Mm-hmm.
how long did it took the person to actually do this or the group of people to do this and to discover these techniques? And we all had this feeling of like when you go to a museum and you stand in front of a painting and somebody tells you, Van Gogh did this when, and then so on and so forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's basically when you get the story with the art and you realize that's when you go, wow, this is amazing, right? But I don't think if you don't have that personally or externally, everything becomes discardable, right? Nothing matters anymore. And I think that's a problem with AI as well, because even if they manage to do everything perfect, art, animation, whatever it is never going to feel like you just watched, I don't know, like Wall-E, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you go, wow, how many animators and how much time and the story and the emotion, and he doesn't speak, and yet you feel for the robot. How did they manage to do it? It's really hard to replicate. Like I feel like it's human. I don't know.
You know what? Okay, so I'm gonna bring this to something. So I saw Predator Badlands this weekend.
Mm,
I freaking loved it. here's something that what you just said, making things human.
Mm.
You know, the main character is a predator now named Deck. And so they
Oh,
had a
he's the
big
predator.
task.
The main character is actually
He's
the
the main
predator now.
character. He's the main character, and I'll tell you, the performance is
Mm.
outstanding. You
Nice.
feel so like I grew up on Predator, so like, you know, the jungle predator, right? You takes off the mask and you're like, oh my gosh, he's so scary. But you never felt like he was more than, you know, we had Arnold to be the human element, and we had the
That's it.
alien.
Yeah.
But within Predator Badlands, there is no humans in that entire movie. There's
Mm.
human things, um, but you feel for Deck
Yeah.
because of the level of care and authenticity and the what those animators did
Yeah.
to not only capture his performance but to enhance it to become something that's way more than what people potentially would think of when they think of the Predator being just a menacing like character that comes and just destroys everything.
Absolutely.
um I'm very very excited, and you know, didn't didn't get
Yeah.
paid to promote Predator Badlands, but I'm saying
No, no, no.
bringing the character, it like
Yeah.
bringing those things takes, I think, a human understanding what is it that makes us feel and have
That's it.
emotion, and
Exactly.
and that's what they did with Deck and Predator.
Yeah, exactly. And in the individual emotions that we have, right, that we can read into things as well, is so complex. And like I'm pretty sure when you watch the Arnie Predator, most likely going to feel for the Predator now because now you know where they come from and all these other things, right?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, if people look behind me, I have the Aliens
Oh, I can see it.
poster, I have the
Yeah,
BioShock poster, I got some other things back there, but I'm really into that, you know, that
yeah,
genre. But like, I'm a big lore backstory. I want to know the culture, like how they got there, and that this movie does that really well, and so it does actually enhance because you start to like be inspired by
yeah,
that level, and then you start to look at the past movies and say that'd be, you know, it's actually really cool thinking about that movie in that context with that different lens.
yeah, absolutely.
And so really good storytellers can do that. They can enhance stuff that was done not by them 30 years ago
Yeah.
because of the compelling work that they're doing now.
That's it. Exactly. A good story always goes a long way, and it needs to be original as well, which is another thing that I think AI is not bad good at. They're good at looking at what has been done and then
Mm-hmm.
give you an answer. But what happens to the things that can be in the future, right? Um, anyways, I hope that answered the question. That was but you know, it was a good subject. I think AI is in
Yes.
everybody's minds. There's actually another question for you that I think it can be for both of us, but it basically asks it, how do you reduce the fatigue of not being able to create, right? Coming up with new ideas, especially for kids, for models and things
Yeah.
like that. Like, how do you go about that?
So um I'm gonna read the question again because it helps me.
Absolutely.
So it's this from Mister, right? It happens to me a lot of the times. I have to restart
It's
a
from Mister.
project
Yeah.
because of the idea has not come to you. How do you reduce this to get more efficient? So this is a really interesting answer. So there's um I personally like to think of these as doing art in two different buckets. One is you're doing your personal project that is your own baby, right? That that's your own, and then there's the production art. So I kind of like to separate those two things. Um, and so when it comes to doing your own work, I think what would help is one, give yourself a little bit of slack. This is your own project. You're trying to come up with your own ideas. Nothing's always going to hit. What helps me is going through the reps. You need to
Mm.
do a lot of it because what you have to, your brain as a human has seen so many things, and that generates all these ideas, and then it's about focusing and saying, is there a good one in here? So in order to do that, you kind of have to go through some reps of a lot of bad ideas and going into a project and hopefully finishing it. And it may be like, I did a lot of cool stuff, but it didn't land. But that's okay, because then you get to learn from that and do it again and do it again. And what's going to happen is you start to understand the filter and the decision making, because really being efficient is not about time. It's not about speed of clicking. It's about the accuracy of your decision making.
Mhm.
So when a really good artist starts to sketch, they're making far better decisions to get to a better result. It's fast because they've already made a lot of the decisions like as they're going, and they're usually better ones because they've gone through the reps of making a lot of bad decisions. And so in order to become more efficient, you have to be okay being bad for a long time, because that's going to help your filter of what's was a good decision versus what's a bad decision to get you to really good art faster. And that's going to go through ups and downs, because as you progress, you will push yourself to then do more, to do harder things. And once you go in to do harder things, you're going to be making bad decisions again because you don't know what a good decision is yet. So it's a cycle.
Yep.
So how do you become more efficient? You just have to do. You have to keep on doing. I also encourage to continue and to finish. Set yourself up some deadlines,
Mm.
even if it's not what you wanted. The process of going through it is valuable. Because then you figure out a couple of things. You figure out, what am I good at? What am I not so good at? What do I love doing about projects? What do I not like doing? And then you can figure out, how can I make the stuff that I love doing last longer? I want to get to those moments faster. And then how do I make the stuff that I don't like doing much easier? And that's tools.
Yeah.
How do I make to where I can push right to Substance Painter and have all my stuff set up so I can go right to painting? I want to go right to that, figure out how to make that faster, because your momentum will like only technology has a lot of barriers, and those are starting to slowly be removed over time so we can get to the art faster. But you have to know at what points you lose momentum so that you can continue to get to the fun stuff. I think that
Yeah.
long-winded answer for
No,
that,
no, that
but
actually made a lot of
that's what I
sense.
say.
And it makes so much sense because it's true though. Like I think the path to get there to the good ideas is basically what makes it worth it. It's bizarre though because we actually simplify things and we normally get to people like talk to about people about he's so talented or she's so talented and has so many great ideas and stuff like that. But it's funny though because the people that actually stay around for a long time and make a career out of this normally struggled. And a lot of the people that I know that are the most talented nowadays, they actually didn't start it that way. They were not very talented. They just work harder than everybody else and
Mm-hmm.
made mistakes and embraced it. And they were like, I don't care what you think, I like it. And they continue doing it. And it's like the resiliency of it all, I think, is not mentioned enough, right?
Oh my gosh, resiliency. That's something that AI will never teach you.
Yeah, for sure.
um, One of the things, Harvey, you and I have
Mm.
kids, and
Yeah,
it's something that I think a lot about. As me and you grew up without the internet. Literally,
yeah.
there was a time when the internet was there, and then it wasn't, and then it evolved, and it's like, wow.
Mm.
We democratized, like, over time there's a lot of barriers that have been removed so people can get to um, making the art. But through those barriers built resilience,
Hmm.
right? Where it's like we just decided to push through to get, because we desired it enough. And so one of the challenges a lot of people I think now face, especially if they're growing up in this time when things are much easier to be accessed, is how do you build resilience? And resilience is built through not being very good and the desire to be better.
Yeah.
In order to do that, with AI or with any tool, it will potentially be able to help you get there. It helps to reduce barriers, but the work still has to get done. The art still has to be made. The decisions still need to be made in order to make something good and or great and then excellent. And so you have to go through the times of not being very good to build resilience, because that's not going away. Art, good games, excellent games don't get built through they're not they're never easy. Making them is easier,
Yeah,
but knowing that this is excellent, and we've all been through crap together to get here, that's the resiliency that we all need to be building with each other. And we're just trying
complete.
to give you tools to get there faster, but that's never going to be a replacement for having just to do the work and to understand and make good decisions and get to the end point and then do it again.
Completely. Couldn't agree more. But like Dave, so we have also Solid, which is Solid Cloud, which is Dave. He's also an experienced, super experienced animator that has been working in indie a lot of his career. And he will know about this because he had a lot of successes in all failures. So nice to have you here, Dave. Appreciate the experience. Really cool. So keep those questions coming for
Love it.
sure. Yeah, it's great. It's really cool. And once again, we're gonna have like a giveaway and stuff. And maybe Mike, you can talk more about the giveaway because we're
Yes.
starting to have all these comments, and I think it's good for people to understand where all this goodness is gonna give them.
Yeah. I'm just checking. It looks like things are about to be happening. But one
Oh,
of the
that's
things
okay. No worries.
Oh no, like one of the things that we have two things that we're giving away. One is we want people to get some kits for as low as we typically can give them. And so there are 10 codes. Well, 10 codes. There's one code that we have 10 of to get like access to a big discount on a kit, on like any kit that you want. It's called Streamathon 40. So we can put that in the chat, and I think a person from our side will be able to
Yep.
put it up there. So Streamathon 40, if you use that when getting a kit today only, you'll be able to get 40% off, and we only have 10 of them. So if you want to start building a world and you don't know where to start, here's a good way to start.
That's
Here's a
it.
really, really good way to start. Start small, but at least you have all the pieces, especially if you're an animator. This gets you all those obstacles and those things that you want to do, whether it's going down a corridor, going up some stairs, jumping off from building to building, all those things. We want to help you out there.
Perfect. Is it Streamathon with a capital S?
I believe so. Believe so. Let me actually send you, Harvey. I will send you what it is. Actually, looking at the messages that shows the code.
No worries.
Streamathon 40. Cool. And then while we're getting confirmation on that, let me just see if something else is up. Okay, not yet. Okay, soon. Hopefully soon. We do have some free assets as well for people to download through Cargo. So I guess one of the things I'll mention first is that we
Yeah.
have some free assets. We have a tool called Cargo, and this
Yep.
is fantastic for people building for building worlds, especially if you're animators. Then you can get all those things in, and that is Cargo. It's free to download. We have some free kits in there as well, just some ones that we've always had, Mission to Minerva and Secrets of the Luminara. But I have some exclusive free assets. There's Max and Banks.
Max and
Um,
Max.
yep. So, but what's really cool about Cargo is you download it and that connects to a lot of software like Unreal. It connects
Mhm.
to Maya, Max,
KitBash
Blender,
was founded.
so that you can download and then import those assets right into your DCC with one click. It comes with all the materials ready to go. Makes it really easy. And so if you're a Maya Redshift user, ready to go. If you're a Blender user, Cycles, ready to go. If you work in Unreal and you want to do 5.6 and hey, I want to use Nanite, it's ready to go. It's all ready for you. So I am just, but we have some assets that are being put up on Cargo right now, and pretty soon you'll be able to open up Cargo. You'll be able to go to the model section, type in a certain code, and then you'll see 3 premium, really cool assets to use, and they're all cohesive, so you can build a really cool little scene. I personally, Harvey, would love for people to tag us if they build with these assets on
Yes,
Instagram.
please. That would be amazing.
Tag Harvey, tag KitBash. But we have a Stormtrooper mech. So for all you animators out there that want to build your own little mech, do some rigging, do some animating, we have a really cool mech there. We have a new kit called Black Market. We have like a little droid that's super cool. That's going to be free for today if you do the code. And then lastly is you need an environment to help you build that that character-driven world. We have a really cool bunker area that feels heavy. It's high tech. So those are all coming soon. And once they're up on Cargo, we'll let everyone know it, and I'll just kind of go through the process of showing you how to get them.
Yeah, amazing. And thanks to the person at KitBash that is actually giving away all this info. I appreciate the help. Really, really cool. So yeah, I think that this is going to be absolutely fantastic because like for all the riggers, tech animators out there, they want to get your hands on like really good quality assets for free. I think that this is a steal because normally we get, as you guys know from the animation community, normally you get a lot of the same models, the same rigs, the same things out there. So I can easily see this becoming a project between a rigger and an animator, or maybe an animator that can actually kind of like rig as well. So if you guys do anything with these assets, it would be super appreciated if you can actually like tag us, both KitBash and myself. I'll love to actually share it here in the channel as well.
Yes.
Because the more we do these things, the more we can continue doing them. So everyone wins. It's great.
Totally. And I've been told they are up. If you type in, but again, I'll demo this a little bit later once we have once I can confirm. But whoever is using, oh, got it. All right, let me share my screen. Okay,
Yeah.
here we go.
Okay, do it.
Sweet. Okay. Okay, sweet. I'm gonna do the whole thing now. Okay. Gotta type in the whole thing, Harvey. Gotta type in the whole thing.
Type in the whole thing.
Okay. Share screen. Okay, so for those of you who have not seen Cargo before, this is Cargo. New kit, Black Market. Loved making this kit. There's so many stories actually, Harvey, that goes into every kit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll tell the people here like one of my favorite kits and one that holds a very special place in my heart is this is the first kit that got released that I had helped work on from beginning to end, meaning I was a part of and helped out with art direction and concept design all the way through its release. And that is where's Americana? Oh my gosh, Americana.
You have to scroll all the way to the bottom. That's how long you've been around.
You shouldn't have to. I think I just missed it. There's so many here. I'm pretty sure I just missed it. There it is. So this kit Americana. This is especially if you live in the US, this is the small town and like downtown Ohio, but it's really based off of a couple of things. We like to add Easter eggs into every single kit.
Yeah.
There's a few horror like Easter eggs if you look closely. One of the ones that you know, the Astroplan arcade, but like this, think of like Derry, Maine, you know, think of the the story It. We added see if I can't find it. Actually, it's going to be in one of the housing assets. Actually, I'm going to leave it up to people to find, but there's references to It, a couple of those.
There is? That's great.
Yeah, there totally is. There's some other movie references that we put in there. We like to build our own brands, and so like Patty Queen, you know, was one of them. One of the super fun things about building these kits and these brands is is how do we design them so that they feel like something that actually existed. Patty
Yeah.
Queen was one of them. So
Like, do you actually reuse the branding? Like, do you put it in other kits
oh,
as well?
okay, so that's a really great question, Harvey. There is one. There's a few, but there's one that has transcended time and space,
Oh, yeah.
and that's the food cup. So it started out. I forget which kit it started, but food. Um, the food cup is like the F, the U with like the two dots and like the D, and we've
Oh,
had that throughout a lot of kits where it's like, oh, can we add food cup into this as a brand? And so sometimes it's even made it into uh like like old historical kits where it's like the like ye old food cup, right? So we try
I
and
know about it.
whenever we can we put that in there. But
Nice.
okay, free assets, here we go. You
Mm,
got to get cargo,
yeah.
and these will download into any DCC of your choice that we support. But you go to models and you search for Streamathon, and you have three assets here. One is the trooper mecha I mentioned, one is the drone, and the other is this massive bunker that you can utilize. You see all the details, you get all these other assets, but this is thematically, we actually made all of these in the same future warfare universe.
Yeah.
But that gets you um plenty to use to make something fun, to make something fun and cool within your own like
Man, this is
animation.
great. Can we have a look at the Mac and the other ones as well? They look
Of course.
great.
So
Man, look at
this
that.
one actually has a full interior as well. So if you have a character, think of Ripley, think of Avatar, you can
Yes.
do your own battle scene.
Man, I know so many animators are gonna be so excited to see this and rig this and animate this. This is gonna be great.
This is our little Walker drone. This was used on
Yeah.
the black market.
Oh, look at
Uh,
that.
yeah, super cool. And these are limited time today only for viewers of the
Reviewers of the
Streamathon.
stream.
Yeah,
Yes, 100%. Yeah, get them while it's hot.
yeah.
Get them.
So you can see here, I have Blender and Unreal, but we support Maya Max, Blender, Unity, Unreal, Houdini, which we recently partnered with Side Effects to make a very, very good Houdini importer.
yeah,
Massive update from our last one. Um, yeah, so those are
awesome.
ready to rock and roll.
Really cool. Thanks a lot for sharing, Mike. This is great. I hope you guys are enjoying the stream. Thanks a lot for all the comments. I need to actually start scrolling up to actually get some of these comments, which is amazing. It's a good sign. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. So, like one of the comments that we got here, there was one that was interesting. Wait. Let me see if I can find it.
Going back past the last
From
slide.
Sheldon. Um,
Nice. I think I know who this is.
yeah,
It
he
is
seems to know
Sheldon
a lot.
French.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I've actually met Sheldon in person. He's a fantastic human being.
great name. So,
Yes.
yeah, he asks, "Hey, Mike, I'd love to get your thoughts on how you see the current state of KitBash 3D and what the future might hold for the company as a whole." Which I think
Interesting.
is,
Well, I know
yeah,
that we're going to talk about the merger later,
yeah,
but yeah, KitBash 3D, we're obviously still building worlds, and that's something that, we're going to continue to build assets so that people can fill out their worlds and have their own character. The other thing is that we're, with cargo, we're really trying to, like I've said before, is remove barriers, trying to build tools that help with the workflow, that help get point A to point B faster, so that people can start to utilize that time to put into actually building the story that they want to build. So cargo is the first like iteration of that, and that's always being improved. And
mm,
there's more to come on tools to help out artists, build their worlds much faster. Um, so there's that. And then when it comes to like other aspects, is that we recently merged with Grayscale Gorilla, and we're actually going to have Nick Campbell on a little bit later in the show I'll talk more about it, but we are wanting to make sure that we, partner with some amazing companies, and by partner, like we actually merged so that we can, bring that same philosophy across multiple industries. With Grayscale Gorilla, their main focus a lot was the motion design, and that with motion design and ArcViz, and it's like, how do we actually serve a greater community with the same tools, and how do we build better tools? How do we do the best of both worlds of what we've had to serve not only the VFX, the games, but the motion design, the ArcViz? How do we do that across like all those industries? And how do we do more? How do we not only increase workflow capacity for people, but how do we do better animation? Because with motion design, it's in the name, motion. So how do we make animation much faster and easier, not just across Cinema 4D, but potentially across like other DCCs?
Yeah. And like there's a follow-up question here, because that's actually a good segue to go into the collaboration between KitBash and Rekindled.
Yeah.
However, there's a follow-up question that I think that also needs answering from Mr. Moody. How is KitBash looking to position themselves to work with indie studios while also pushing the AAA quality that you've known for?
Well, yeah, I mean, so like it's really similar to how we worked with Rekindled, right? So I was talking earlier about how the environment and how the characters need to come together to make something that's very, very compelling.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we did with Rekindled, and if anyone is interested, there was a fantastic
we'll show it in a second for sure.
Show it, yeah. So we did a short, and I'll talk about the actual story of how that came to be. Yeah. But combining characters and fantastic environments create a very compelling short story. So how are we helping out like indie game studios? And that is, we try and make sure that we have a cohesive set of thematic assets that are AAA quality that can be dropped into the game environment and be tweaked very easily, can be made to the specific purpose, but then remove barriers in time to get to that like outcome that we're after.
That's it.
And so when Harvard and I were talking about like Expedition 33, that's what they did. They said, let's have we have this idea. We want these environments. Let's get AAA quality assets to fill those. And then let's pick and choose what we need to then bring it all together.
That's it.
And then it becomes cohesive.
Yeah, absolutely. So I hope that answers the question, Mr. Moody, but let us know if you have any more. Now, like, because this feels like almost like a tease, I think I'm going to, we can move on to the collaboration between KitBash and Rekindled, because it's something that is being going on behind the scenes for, it was not that long. It was actually quite quick, but it took a lot of work. Yeah. So you guys can see here, if you actually go to the
love this.
Yeah, to KitBash website, there's a piece about how this came about, and I'm gonna play the short so you guys can see it, and then we can talk a little bit more about how it came about, because I think this is really interesting. I think. Yeah, so I hope you guys managed to hear it, but if you don't, then just definitely either search for this on YouTube, or definitely go to KitBash 3D website to find out more. But from our standpoint, because things kind of started by us kind of like talking to you guys about how to kind of put it together. Like we started making animations, and I was just like I didn't participate in this because I was busy with the projects I rekindled. But there was actually like a really talented animator called Will and Rob, and they started working on this for quite a bit. And like I could see the animations kind of because had a Slack chat, and I could see the animations kind of forming up. And there is this running joke that is actually on our previous trailer as well of this one this basically this carton of juice, orange juice, and there's more to this, but I shouldn't spoil it because I know exactly why this exists. But I would think I'm going to leave it for later. Maybe Rob can actually talk about it in a future episode. But yeah, so we kind of like when I saw this, I was laughing out loud. It was just gray boxed and stuff, and then the idea is for us to kind of like block out the animation as quick as possible. And I think it took a good 2 to 3 weeks max. It didn't took very long at all. And then to kind of like talk to you guys at KitBash to basically give us the kits and like the environment and kind of like bring it together. Am I correct, Mike? Like,
Yeah. So it was fantastic. One of the things that, so Yogi sent me a message, said, "Hey, Mike, I would love to talk to you about a few things.
Yep.
We have some cool things, and it'd be great to collaborate." And Yogi is amazing. We, little fact about Yogi is that, Harvey, you introduced me to Yogi, and he helped us to review and give feedback for our gameplay ready kits because we want to make sure that we're doing what we need to do from people in the industry, because we have a good idea, but we still want that like industry feedback. So Yogi was a part of that. And so that's how I met Yogi.
That's it.
So he and I got on a call, and he's like, "Hey, we have a really fun idea to do a Halloween game cinematic, and we were wondering if you guys had any kits that we could utilize." And I said, "Well, we actually have a kit coming out that I think would be perfect for this." And so I walked him through the kit, and he's like, I think the team's gonna be super excited to utilize this kit." And so the kit, House of Horror, had not come out yet, but we got the kit over to Rekindled, and him and the whole team started. They just went out and they broke it apart, which is actually great because they could drop it in, but that gave them all the ideas and all the assets, and they said, "Okay, so let's start to actually figure out what we want this to be." And they were able to bash things together, take things where they wanted to, create the scene very quickly with assets that were already ready to go, and then really focus on the character part of it and the cinematography and the lighting and how it's supposed to come together. So we got a chance to meet several times before, and then kind of give feedback and ideas and see it like evolve. But yeah, they were able to build it within a few weeks.
Yeah.
Built custom characters, which is incredible. You can see those here. And they didn't have to build all the environment from scratch. That's what we got to do. So that's how this really fun short got made so quickly is by two really great studios coming together and making something amazing.
Amazing. And look how messed up this guy is.
I love it.
It's beautiful. No, it's really, really cool. I think seeing both studios collaborate so closely, and I know for a fact, knowing you guys at KitBash, and now that I'm working with Rekindled as well, that the passion is there on both sides, and we both love to have fun. And even though we are both experiencing what we do, I think that the coming together of the minds, I think it just makes everything so much more fun. So it's really cool to actually just get great people together in the industry. And look, this is beautiful. Look at this stuff. The most important part of this. So it was really, really cool to actually collaborate with you guys. And like, I think that this can be a segue for you guys to talk maybe a little bit more about the animation side of things, because I know you were talking to me about obviously KitBash has always been about modeling, which is great. But I believe now that you guys kind of like merge a little bit with the other studio, now you guys are like you have animation, not the animation in 3D that we know, but it's Houdini, I believe, right? It always
So Grayscale Gorilla focused a lot on their tools were for Cinema 4D,
Cinema 4D, that's what it was.
which is huge in the motion design
Yeah,
like industry. So
absolutely.
they focused on Cinema 4D and a lot of the motion tools that are built within Cinema 4D, as well as Redshift and Octane in terms of like
Yeah.
the render engines. So yeah, there's they actually had some very amazing and specialized like animation tools, one of which is Signal. And so that's definitely something that, you know, now with Grayscale and KitBash together, it's we can now think about like animation and how that can affect a wider audience.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I guess there's no better time than like I'm actually seeing here the Grayscale Gorilla website, so people understand the type of animations that they are. But yeah, so I think this looks absolutely fantastic, and to me at least, because it's an adjacent world that I always thought about. And I know, for example, a guest that we're gonna get tomorrow is this guy called Giuliano. He's very much into the advertising world, and he works with multiple
He may
software.
use Grayscale Gorilla. It would be interesting to know if he does.
I'd be interested to know. Yeah, I never asked him, but I do know that he makes amazing animations. And a lot of the time that I ask him, "Have you done that in Maya?" He was like, "No, no, no, this is not Maya." But because in games, in film, we are so kind of like hell bent into this one specific or two specific softwares, especially in animation, is not something that we use very often. But it's actually quite interesting to see because I think this will probably open up a whole world for you guys of asking animation questions. I'm guessing with a new crew coming in about how certain things are done, especially with all the Epic and Unreal work that you've been doing. I'm guessing there's going to be a point there that both things are going to collide and is going to create these new questions that you guys are going to have as a company as well, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, with when you merge with a new company, like a lot more possibilities become like they come to fruition. So like how do we take these tools that exist and, you know, because with Grayscale Gorilla, you know, they did focus on Simba 40 and but with their product studio, you could bring some things into, you know, with their assets, you could bring those into Blender and Unreal. But when it comes to their plugins, they're really high quality, like animation plugins, as well as they have like other workflow plugins and ones that help look development. With those, they specifically focus on Cinema 4D. And so now it's how do we get some of those tools that we really admire, like Signal,
Hmm.
where you can animate without keyframes. How do we get that to where it makes sense to bring it into other realms?
Amazing, amazing.
So it's a starting point. It's
Yeah.
absolutely a starting point, and it gets us thinking. Especially because one of the things I guess I'll say too is that with Cargo, if you use Cargo, didn't know if people know this, but you are on a USD pipeline, and that's something that we are bringing to the forefront. Is how
Yeah.
do we get USD and how do we get the interoperability so that people, again, it's about breaking barriers. You don't have to be a studio that says we have to hire people that have Maya only because that's what we use. It's like how do we
Yeah.
break those barriers?
That's a great piece of information because I don't know, like please let me know in the comments if you guys know about USD. I think it might be worth you breaking down what USD does because I think a lot of people in the stream right now, they probably don't know that USD actually involves animation as well. I think most people
Yeah.
know USD as modeling, but through Mike, I actually didn't even know this. Mike was the one that told me that you can actually export animations through USD, and it means
Yep.
that it's universal for every software, and it's amazing. So please, Mike, elaborate.
Yeah, so USD, it's the Universal Scene Descriptor, is a very, very powerful file format. It was made by Pixar, and
Yeah.
we've actually worked with Pixar and NVIDIA, who make the Omniverse, and we've been very USD forward, along with people like Houdini and again like Pixar. But
Yeah.
what USD allows you to do is it holds data in layers. That's why the logo you can even see is like it has to do with layers.
That's true.
So you're able to work in layers non-destructively, and the more layers you add, you can add more data. So like right now with Cargo's USD, we hold a lot of data. We can hold instancing data, we hold geometry data, we hold all sorts of like texture data. We also use Material X,
Mm.
which holds all the material and shader data that gets put across like all these DCCs. So like then you have this one source of truth, and that's the USD file, rather than passing along a bunch of FBX files or OBJs, or all that stuff can get broken, and there's only so much data that it can hold. But to your point, Harvey, what we can then do is like add in different data layers depending on how we expand what we're able to do. One of which is the animation. So
Mm.
we've already done a lot of testing, but it's like with USD you can hold all sorts of data, whether that's rigging data, like animation data, modeling data, texture data, UV coordinates, all that stuff, to where you can pass it along to other DCCs that have a USD importer. And a lot of the times we make sure that it's premium, right? So we may actually have to update some things to make sure that Maya or Max or Blender can translate this stuff universally to where it actually perfectly goes across. So if you download something in Unreal, it looks the same as if you download something, that same asset, into Maya and Redshift, and it
Yeah.
has the correct shader network, or it passes along keyframes, or it passes along rigging data. That's all stuff that's now available to us to do in the future, like as we expand what we're capable of doing.
Yeah, which I think is really awesome because so far, for those that don't know, we use FBXs in the industry, and FBX has been the transport medium for the industry for, I don't know, I've been using mine for 20 years, maybe longer, probably longer, 20, 30 years. I don't know. I don't know when the FBX was created, but the idea of the FEX is something similar, where you actually have information of bones in this case, at least for us, of joints or models or whatever, and then you basically export that one thing. There's no layers, and then you basically import that FBX into whatever software that you want. But Unreal, as far as I know it, always used FBX, and I think the problem with FBX is that you have to adapt to whatever to the FBX. There's always a limitation that you have to hit. So you need to compensate for that limitation in either your DCC. For those that don't know, DCC is basically the software outside of in the engine in this case. So your Mayas, your ZBrushes, your Photoshops or whatever, and then you have to basically, or you need to compensate for it in Unreal. So for example, a big plugin that everybody uses, which is called Live Link in Maya, that's basically a collaboration between Unreal, Epic, and Maya Autodesk, that basically come together to make those two things kind of like sing along and overcome the limitations of the DCC by adding bells and whistles on top of each software so they can talk to each other. But they're not really, basically, they had to make that happen. It's not something that is universal, like Mike is saying, where you can actually adapt and like without having to write any code or anything, you can just like extract the information and continue building.
Yeah, we do a lot of the hard work on our end. So,
Yeah,
for
the
example,
engineers. Yeah.
with Unreal, we when Cargo imports into Unreal, we have a plugin that's used in the background that will add on to what Unreal currently has for USD support, and we add on more support because we have the gold standard of USD files that is dictated by there's a big USD group that like we are a part of, and like Houdini, to where it's like that level of USD file can work as it's supposed to, like across multiple DCCs. So not every DCC supports USD the same way. We make sure that our files, when we build the importers that Cargo uses, they not only carry the amount of data that we want, but we also lean into specific DCC functionality that will help enhance the user experience within that DCC. So, for example, with Unreal, especially newer versions like 5.2 and above, they have pack level instancing. There's Nanite, there's all that kind of stuff that with our USD files, we're able to build kits a certain way and then pass that data to like Unreal, to where then when you get it, you just drop in the asset like the gameplay ready ones, and the collisions are all set up. But we built that stuff in a different DCC to make sure that when it imports automatically, it comes in with the master materials are correct. There's pack level like instancing for optimization for memory. But then for like the other importers, like for Houdini, I add a little extra R in there. That leans into some of Houdini features that are great for building. Like, I'm not a Houdini user, but I've used the Houdini plugin. It goes right into certain like aspects where like certain nodes are set up correctly, but it leans into the DCC features while utilizing USD to make people who use that software much more efficient.
Yeah. So you basically like a translator.
We are a
KitBash
translator.
to translate the USD and give it the best potential for the software that you use that uses
Yes.
the USD, right?
Yes, because every software does things a little bit differently. Like if you use Cinema 4D, they have like their own like asset browser, whereas Blender has its own asset browser. So like if you want to use those asset browsers in a certain way, but you actually have to translate. Like if we're to build something that went from a Blender asset browser, say, okay, cool, I want this to go to Cinema 4D, and I also want to show up in their asset browser. You may want to be like, cool, how do we translate that so it feels cohesive across the Blender asset browser and the Cinema 4D asset browser, or something like that?
Something like
that.
Makes sense.
So that people feel like, great, I can utilize this in the way that they expect it to be utilized.
Makes sense. So Angus has a good question here that I think leans well on, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people are wondering how can, for all the modelers out there, people that are looking into get into like a company like KitBash, how do you actually get into KitBash? And Angus, what he asked is very much, how many pieces of software do you need to know to make it big into the industry? And I know that art, yeah, and I know that art modeling specifically, for animators is boring. You just use Maya or Blender, that's it. But I know that art and modeling, it requires multiple softwares in order for you to get the best out of something.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of answer, if you can answer that, then I think you answer this question as well, and maybe segue into how can one become a KitBash modeler?
Sure. So it's an interesting question, and there's a couple of different avenues for this answer. One is, we don't require every single one of our artists to know all the software that we support, right? So if you're a modeler at KitBash who specializes in Blender, fantastic. We actually like that a lot. We don't need you to also know Maya, Cinema 4D, and Houdini, into the same capacity. So specialize for sure in one of those and get really good in one of those, especially if you're a modeler. And then texture artists, we use Designer and Painter every single day. So like that's kind of, you have to, be really good at those if you want to be a material artist, as well as have a software that you utilize to texture those assets. But again, we have artists that use Blender, Maya, Cinema 4D, but because of how we work and how we translate between our different people, we're really good at talking with each other to make sure that if something's built in like Cinema 4D or in Blender, it can get translated into what we need to do to then texture it and all that kind of stuff. I would also say having knowledge of Unreal is always going to be really good.
Yeah.
Because the end package is always something that we want to be testing in, right? So like if we always want to make sure that when we build a gameplay ready kit, that we throw it into Unreal. Are the collisions working right? Is that what we expect? So the other aspect to becoming someone that works at KitBash is you have to be flexible and a team player. Like we work as a team. We are a team through and through. We don't we have rock stars, but they're a rock star because they work really well on a team, and also they're really good at what they do.
Mm.
So in order for us to do more and to be better, we have to have people that are really good with talking with one another, understanding where they're blocked, what the challenges are, and then also how to make things better, because we're trying to make things better for the rest of the world when it comes to 3D in general. We're trying to make tools that help people do better art faster. And so we really like people that want to go along with us in that mission. And that requires people who are flexible and be like, this pipeline could be improved in X, Y, and Z because that's the mission is to do this.
Mm.
Fantastic. Let's continue to do that. So
Right.
it's kind of twofold. It's one, you can for sure specialize in, you don't need to know like every single software, but know a pipeline for
Yeah.
sure. Know how everything kind of works. But then also be really fun and awesome to work with.
That's it. I think that just to segue off that, there's two things that I want to mention. Like the fact that people a lot of the time actually don't take into consideration about the personality and working with others for a long period of time. A lot of the time, I think as an artist, a lot of the time you think that if my work is good, then you should equal a job. And I think that you basically selling yourself, your passions, and talking to yourself, and basically clicking with a person with a certain aspect. Like if you're a gamer, then games. If you're a modeler, then nerd out about models most likely, and this helps you a ton in the long run. And then the other thing as well that sometimes doesn't come across, and unfortunately, a lot of artists learn this the hard way, is your work, your personal work is your personal work, and you should be passionate about that 100%. Your external work and the ones that you actually getting paid for, it's not your work, it's for others to have. And you still should put passion, but at the same time you should know that there is like a little bit of a separation there. Because what I found through time, and I don't know if you found the same, Mike, maybe you can talk about it, is that a lot of the time those two things get like almost like mixed with each other. Artists feel like that work that they're making for the client or the company, it's their work, and therefore they take any feedback in a super bad way because it's almost like you were kind of like insulting them. And the faster you make that disconnect between this is basically commercial work and this is personal work, and if you make that the separation, emotionally, like that feedback is going to come like through like no problem. Okay, cool. I need to make those changes. I'm still passionate about it, but I need to do the work. And then you can just go home and do your own thing. And then you can be your own critic, and that helps you a ton.
I totally agree. And I talked about this briefly like an hour or so ago when I was saying I separate the personal work from like the production work.
Yep.
One really good piece of advice that I got is that the professional work is what you should be doing in your professional work is things that you're really, really good at. And then in your personal work is when you discover and you do things that you're potentially needing to learn and be bad at to
Mhm.
get good at them. So like, for example, if you're a really good environment artist and you're doing, production work, do that stuff as, really, really well. That's what you know. Don't feel like you have to be discovering something new all the time. That's going to come naturally, but don't feel like you need to be emotionally tied to that work.
Yeah.
Whereas when you go home and you say, I'm going to start learning a different thing, that's when you get to really like take your time. Don't, don't feel like you have to um, uh, do like do things super fast because this is your time now to actually experiment and discover, and then through that you can say like, great, I'm going to be doing like I want to learn more character work. That's going to take time and effort, and you're not going to be as fast as you are at the environment stuff. But it's like it's that back and forth. It's that balance between your personal work and then the production work. And the production work should be, how can I get this to the quality and in the time that it needs to get done, like the quality and speed. And quality plus speed is efficiency, and you learn efficiency by removing all the stuff that hinders you from getting to the end result fast, like building tools to help you remove 30 clicks to get you to where it is the thing that you need to get to. So
Absolutely.
it all kind of plays out like that.
Makes sense. And I think like David Ashley here says like like fitting within the team and the personality is also called team fit, and this is completely right. And I think like definitely a tip is definitely that you study the people that actually work at the studio that you want to get into, because their personalities will tell a lot about what that studio is about. It's something that people don't think about very much. But like you mentioned before about how, KitBash is very much about helping others and trying to elevate others and empowering others and making it easier for everybody in the industry. And this is something that I'm trying to do with my YouTube channel. That's something that we're trying to do at Rekindle as well. This is why like we have like a really cool team and we gel so well. So, like, what do you think started that motto, like that idea of like instead of doing the best models and just sell them and then just get as much business as possible, instead of doing that, every so often you have the epics, but then you have the kitbash or the rekindles, right? When you work with us just for fun, and obviously normally any other business, you'll be like, we don't have time for this, right? We don't have time to do this fun stuff with KitBash. Why are we wasting our time? And yet, you guys don't do that. You guys are very much like, let's do this because it's fun, because it fits us. So, like, why that happens within KitBash, and then like what's the benefits of that, like in terms of business and for you guys?
Yeah. So with any, it's one of those things that we are mission driven, right? We like our mission is to enable and inspire the to enable and inspire the careers of the virtual frontier. That sits above all else, right? So
Is that actually the motto?
yeah,
How does it go again?
to enable and inspire the creators of the virtual frontier.
Man,
That's
it's
our
a
mission.
strong mission. Love it.
Of course, and it's that sits at the very top. So that's when we make decisions, we always want to make sure our decisions go up to that. It goes from that to, well, what we call bets, and that's like, if we do this, we bet that this will happen. And then lower than bets are what are the objectives and key results to make that happen. But it's like a pyramid, like it all goes up, and it's always a challenge to balance the business side of things. Like, it's great that we work with Epic, and we love it because we are enabling and inspiring the creators of the virtual frontier through the assets that we make, and our reach is so much larger.
Yeah.
But then it's like, we also support and love, like we're a small company, like we're not ginormous.
Yeah.
We're always growing, and we have grown quite a bit in the last, I think, every single year. But it's, the community is still very small, and we want to make sure that we're always thinking about, and any decision we make goes against our mission. And that doesn't always mean we work with the biggest company. It means that we work with companies that are enabling and inspiring the careers of the virtual frontier, and Rekindled and Proxima, you and so many others are doing that. And so how do we make time, and how do we find those opportunities? Because together we do more than we can do separately.
100%.
So
strength in numbers.
Yes, that, and there's so much talent that we can then collaborate on, so that like this one cinematic can, yes, it can absolutely inspire others, but it starts the first domino of like, with other people seeing that, is like, how do I get in on that kind of thing where it's a KitBash and it's rekindled and they make this amazing cinematic. But like, if you look at both companies separately, it's like, wow, there's so much going on here for both companies that they're bringing, this type of quality to just these little moments in time, as well as to other bigger studios. So
100%. Mm.
it's definitely a domino effect, but it's about finding those opportunities and moments to make sure that two companies can come together, make something amazing, and then start the snowball of things rolling downhill.
Yeah.
Because when I think about little moments in time when we've had a conversation, that can loop back around 2 years later and say, hey, guess what? I'm in this area. Let's talk. Let's collaborate. And
Yeah.
it's like, you don't always have to have the big conversations. The little ones are the ones that a lot of times stick with people. And if you're always authentic and you're always like, this is where we're going, this is the direction, this is the mission, then that has a much bigger impact, especially as it becomes bigger with other people who share a similar mentality.
Completely.
Them coming together makes something that's bigger than both of them combined.
Couldn't agree more. And I think like a lot of people think that in this industry, especially in games, it's all about where you work, how your CV looks. And I think when people look at experienced people CVs and stuff, they go like, wow, you worked on these companies. But it's not so much about where you work, it's who you work with.
Mm-hmm.
Because the people that you work with eventually will become the next directors, game directors and leads, and I think that basically becomes something beautiful, because then as things expand, like Mike mentioned, things start happening like organically. Like just recently, you guys tomorrow, everybody in the stream are gonna meet like tomorrow, this guy called Rex, which is an animator from Japan. Super lovely dude, amazing guy. And he watched the channel and he asked me for help, and we started talking. And he's incredibly talented, like super, but incredibly humble. And we talked for a bunch. And now he's basically working with us at Rekindled. And he's a lead animator on a project, and he's like killing it, and he's really cool. And none of that would happen if basically both of us were like talking to each other with a means to an end, if that makes sense, right? Like it feels very much like you just make it happen organically, and eventually things happen, and it's a beautiful thing to happen, that happens. And I think also something else to add there to the cloud of thoughts is that the games industry is going towards indie games and independence, and very much this idea that you can do this yourself instead of having to rely on publishers all the time, which has been the model so far. And I think companies, I genuinely believe it in the core, and I'm pretty sure you guys feel the same, Mike. Companies like KitBash and Rekindled are going to be the companies that are going to help the companies like Proxima and the future studios that hopefully are going to be the biggest things out there, right? Like the Haze Lights of nowadays, and all these other studios that are making a killer time and a killer like games and stuff. They much rather rely on smaller companies with a lot of passion, like KitBash, like Rekindled, than rely on a big outsourcer or a big company that actually build their game. Because I think when you are that size, you kind of rely on passion, and you feed off each other, and you feed ideas, and just like, what if this, but then this. And I think that's essential for you to kind of make the best possible product in the end.
I totally agree. And one of the things that I think with indie game developers that is actually really good is that there has to be solid boundaries. There has to be a focus, because with bigger companies, it's really easy to throw 100 people at something and be like, great, like they built a bunch of assets.
Yeah.
But sometimes the vision can get lost as you grow. And so it's very, very challenging, I think, where as you scale, making sure that the vision of what you set out to do is maintained, and what the culture is maintained. And so with smaller studios coming together, it's much easier to maintain that vision, to set up those boundaries. Like, what can we do with the limited resources that we have to make something great? And that's when a lot of creativity sparks and a lot of things come together and say, well, we can use KitBash for this. If we had that, we can use Rekindled for this because they're really good at that. And then what's the other pieces? Let's all get together and let's create some of these, like, okay, this is what the vision is, let's go after that. And then a lot of the times, if that's maintained, then something that's truly remarkable and very high quality will be there. And then you can just like continue to iterate off that. One company that rekindled like in us, like we work together, but just as a small example is that there's a lot of like game studios that will do the they'll put out like a smaller version of the game, like the first 2 levels. It will be in early access.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's actually a really good example of saying they have an idea and they put something together, and it's good enough where they say this is like the first 3 levels are totally great. You can totally play them. We have a lot of ambition, but let's start getting players like into it, getting feedback to iterate to make something like even better. And that's goes to the philosophy of like, it's like if they chose to spend another 2 more years building out the full game and then it didn't land, well, that's a lot of money that
It's a
potentially
lot
got
of money, a lot of
put down the
overhead as
toilet.
well.
Yeah.
Completely. Yeah.
So if you get that early on, if you get that feedback, but your core is really good,
Yeah.
then you just get to then like anyone that plays it says this is super exciting. I loved it, even though it's small. What they have here is really, really good. Then you build that momentum. You get some more funding to build, more and more levels. It expands, and then once 1.0 drops, it's like, yeah, this is super solid. Then you can have a whole new brand of players who are saying 1.0 just dropped. It is, like everything that the developer wanted it to be.
That's it.
But that comes from all the feedback they got during the first year.
Iteration.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So
And
super important.
because I feel like at least in games, people have people like humans always had a short memory when it comes to history, anyways. But I think one of the things that is happening as we become like consumers of faster and faster content is I think we basically forget more and more about the past. And I think that one of the things that is essential for us to remember, especially in games, is that the very early games that were massive, like in every single console, they had nothing to work with. They have very little to work with. And yet Miyamoto made Mario and it's classic. And when you play it nowadays, it still feels absolutely fantastic. They had about 2 sprites and like two bits of memory, and they still made it work, and it was incredible. And most games that are out there that are like absolutely fantastic, and the last example is definitely Clair Obscur. They are they are basically products of pressure, but also limitations, and you working within that box and coming up with creative solutions for problems in order to make the best product possible. Because you still want to make it amazing, but how can you make it amazing with like these last 3 things, or like just a couple of things? Like you have to change the story, change the modeling, change the workflows, whatever it takes to get to that end goal. It might not be as polished as you thought, but at least the story is there, maybe, right? And things like that. And I think that's basically what people forget about. People look at the AAA games and all of the AAA studios, and they start thinking about formulaic ways of making games. They almost like every answer has been answered, every question has been answered, and we know exactly the structure to make a good game. Is a bit of GTA with a bit of Red Dead Redemption and a bit of this, and then we have something that sells. But I think we're so young in the industry, like we're still figuring this out. And I love the fact that we just go in the opposite way instead of relying on publishers and other people that basically maybe not don't play games so much. We're just relying on ourselves to basically build these assets. Mike is a gamer. We talk a lot about like,
Yes.
gaming in old school machines and like playing old school games and stuff. And I think having a lot of these people coming together in their own companies now that we're adult and grown and with kids and families, I think we all want the same. We want to see games succeed and be the best possible things.
100%. And I feel like it's in a similar it's somewhat similar to the music industry in that Spotify and the democratization of music really disrupted the industry,
Hmm.
where especially if you think of big music studios that used to gatekeep all of what people got a chance to listen to because it was so expensive to make music. It's not expensive to make music now, but we're still getting a lot of really great music
Yeah.
because it's people are doing a lot of DIY, but they're still learning all the fundamentals. That doesn't change. It's just that the tools they use make it much less expensive to get out into the world to get feedback and feel a lot higher quality right from the get-go because of the
That's it.
tools that's now available in the industry.
Yeah.
So with game studios, it's like, well, they're getting smaller, but the quality, or there's a lot more indie game developers.
Yeah.
The quality is just as high, and there's a lot more variety. Like there's
Yeah.
never been a time when I can remember like you can go and get a game that is sprite based still or feels like it, and it has modern controls. You're like, wow, feels better than I did when I was playing,
Yeah.
like Mario back when I was much younger. But
That's
then you
it.
can also go to get AAA, or I don't like that, like high graphics games. It's like, wow, we can do the Elden Ring stuff too.
That's it.
Both of which can be highly successful, but have wildly different studios working on them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like so like somebody else is asking about AI, Alex is asking about AI, so I'm gonna put it up on screen because I think there's a little addendum to what we answered before. But going off the answer that you gave, I think a good example is this guy over here, Kendrick Lamar. I think going because you mentioned music and going back to the idea of like us being lazy and wanting to actually do it the easy way and all these other things. I feel like artists that understand that things are not easy and you have to put in work and you do your reps and you learn about the greats and you learn about the history and you understand what worked, what didn't, what styles, and you start to kind of like package it all up in a nice way, and then you use modern tools to then basically deliver that message. I mean, it's more powerful than ever. Like this is why you get like old school artists saying, "I wish I had the tools that you have with the knowledge that I have, because if I could, then I mean, the things that I could make." And I think things move so fast that people don't spend the time actually like, learning them and crafting it and learning the craft, right? And this goes for modeling, animation, games, whatever you want to put it. So yeah, it's really interesting. Um, so like Alex, going back to AI, Alex asks this last part of the question because I think we answered the previous, but do you see AI as a threat to the modeling industry right now? Which I think is a fair question because of all the click a button and make a model and all these other things.
totally. Is it a threat? It's 100% disruptive. There is no doubt that it's going to disrupt, what people are seeing, and it's very similar to the fashion industry, where if you think of like clothes, and you think of there was a time when there was a flood of like really decent clothes that were super cheap, and it did the job. Like Forever 21, right? You go there, you get, oh, this is very fashionable. It's also really, price sensitive. There's a big flood of those types of outlets that came out, like Forever 21 and The Gap, and it's like cool. Like, but what that did was it took the middle kind of part of the industry. It kind of took it out. It's like, great, now that's owned by relatively inexpensive and fashionable things. With modeling and texturing, I think, or with models, I think the same thing is happening. We're going to get a flood, an absolute flood of AI generated models, and movies and a bunch of other stuff that
A bunch of other
is going
stuff.
to flood the market with that stuff. And we're going to decide, is this what we want? But so like the middle part of the market is going to probably be taken over a lot, where people are saying, I can generate this super basic asset, this pot or this whatever. It's going to go in the background of my video, and it's going to work fine for that. But I do think that the premium stuff, like there's still premium clothing. There's still things that people really, really want that is of a high quality that will always exist because you really can't get it like anywhere else. And that's where studios like KitBash and Rekindled is like, yeah, there's a bunch of AI animations, there's a bunch of AI models, but if you want the stuff that's curated, that is very, very high quality, that's going to work for, across multiple DCCs, and it's going to fit into your game or fit into your movie, or have a certain level of character and thought, and it's going to be, AAA. Oh, I keep on saying that, premium, high quality.
Yeah.
Then those that's where we're going to sit, and so that way, yeah, it's going to be challenging, but that's kind of where I see things happening, is that the market's going to change, but we're aiming to make sure that we're a part of the premium side of things.
And once again, do you remember a few years back, Mike, where the double A industry was decimated? Like maybe
Yeah.
like you remember that? There was like
Yeah.
there was indies and there was triple A's when the Call of Duty started exploding and
Yeah.
things. Like everything in the middle collapsed. I used to work for one of them. We used to call a studio called Eurocom. So we worked on
I
Spyro
haven't
the
heard of them.
Dragon
Oh,
and
yeah.
the Olympic Games and Ice Age the movie, or the game, sorry, the Ice Age the movie, the game, and things like that, right? And that was considered a double A studio, like definitely not a triple A. I think the closest thing that we did at triple A was Death. What was it? Man, that space horror game.
Dead Space?
Dead
No.
Space.
Oh,
Yeah,
Dead Space. Okay.
Dead Space. Yeah. So we worked on one called Dead Space Extraction, but
Oh, okay. Yeah.
yeah. So that was it. But the industry collapsed in the middle, and everybody. I remember perfectly. People was talking at that time that if you are caught in the middle, then there's nothing for you. Basically, nobody's interested in what you have, what you do, or anything like that. So you should actually either go AAA or go indie, but nothing. And even the indies were like small. Steam was not as big as it is right now, and yet we are kind of flipping around. It's just like we are kind of like bouncing the other way, which I think is interesting because I feel like this is basically human nature. Like I feel like we want something, we see a lot of it, and now there's a revolution against AAA, and everybody doesn't want the AAAs anymore, and everybody wants the middle and the little one. And it's like we should have learned from these things. I feel like the term AI slop is here already. That was not here like a
I see
year
that
ago.
every single day. Yep.
Exactly. A year ago there was no such word, and now it's here, and now people are seeing it, and now people are gonna see like bombardment of things. And I think we're gonna like, I don't know, to me I feel like we're gonna snap the other way where the human crafted things, the handmade stuff, the handcraft, wow, this model was made by hand by somebody. How long did I think is gonna be even more important than it was before AI, if that makes sense. Before it was just a necessity, and after AI, I think is going to be something that is a luxury and like something that if you really care, then you do it that way, if that makes sense.
Luxury brands are going to be a part of it. It's the same
Yeah.
way, now with, like I was saying, fashion, with the music industry, right? We got a flood of lots of music, not a lot of it not good, but we'll learn from that, and you take the tools that make things fast and or more efficient, and then you use those to make even higher quality things faster, right? So it's
Yeah.
like you have to take the good that comes out of that, and that is there's some cool tools, and those will evolve into something that people who want to make high quality premium stuff will say, great, now I've just saved a bunch of time because I used to spend 20 hours on this, now I spend 1 hour, but now I get to spend those other 20 hours on making something even better.
I'll make it something even better. Absolutely. So I hope that answered the question, Alex. And should we do we have Nick available for it?
He is saying that he is hopping in here either now or soon. I think he's ready.
Ah, okay. In that case, oh, there you go. Nick is here. Nick is here. Let's bring in Nick so we can talk.
Nick Campbell, everyone.
Yeah, Grayscale Gorilla. How's it going, Nick?
What's up, y'all?
Thanks for taking the time. Nice to meet you for the first time.
Hey, you as well, man. Really love
Yeah.
your stuff. It's been
Oh,
cool to see, follow along here live and watch
yeah.
you guys talk about all this good stuff. And good to finally meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm glad that you actually join us. I guess we get to give Mike a little bit of a breather to, okay, he must be thirsty at this point, talking for 2 hours. So, oh, there you go. So,
Finally, Mike, get
exactly.
hydrated. Let's go.
So, Nick, do you mind introducing yourself, telling the audience, what do you do, what have you done, what has happened as of late, because things have changed a lot. So it'd be great to kind of hear more about you.
Yeah, sure thing. So I'm Nick Campbell. I'm the founder of Grayscale Gorilla, and I know Mike was mentioning this earlier. We recently merged, and I'll talk more about that. But Grayscale Gorilla was started to create tools and assets for artists like me. I did motion design, did title sequences for movies and sports graphics and commercial work, and I found myself creating little tools and little, uh, rigs to help me do all the things I did as an artist all day. And after I built a few of them, I realized, well, maybe other artists need tools like this. So that's kind of the start of Grayscale Gorilla. It was the start of, plugins, and then a lot of education as well. At the time, this is gosh, 16, 17 years ago. 3D was expensive. It was 10 grand for a license for Maya. It sounds like you know this stuff, Harvey.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. It was super
and
expensive.
you don't look like you should know all these things, but I hear you've
Oh,
been in this industry a while. Um,
absolutely. Yeah. Deceiving,
but
deceiving.
back then, it was really expensive to get into 3D. Obviously, the computers were really hard. But Cinema 4D came around, and it did a lot of things for artists that wouldn't naturally call themselves 3D artists. It ran on a Mac, and at the time, Mac was dominating in After Effects and all the other software that people were using all day, especially where I worked. And it was also a lot easier to learn. It was a lot easier to pick up and grab, and you can make a cube with one click instead of three. And so that was kind of the start of Grayscale Gorilla. We've been around for over 16 years now. We've helped hundreds of thousands of artists around the world with tools, assets, and we really specialize in high quality materials and tools that help you light and animate your scenes. So that's kind of the quick history of Grayscale Gorilla. And then, of course, we could talk about the merger as well. I'm here to answer
Absolutely.
all the questions, Harvey.
Amazing. I have plenty. I have plenty. This is the first time that we meet. So, like, you guys do textures, but you also do Cinema 4D animation. Am I correct? So, like, was that
Yeah.
like a progression that you guys were doing for firstly, like, high quality assets, and then you kind of like moved to animation at some point? Is that correct?
Our industry always had motion at the heart of it. So a lot of motion design and a lot of the industry that we have served over the years is really motion centric, right?
Hmm.
Almost
Sure.
all of it. Now, over the last, I'd say 7, 6 years, we've seen a big growth, at least in our space, in product viz, where that's a little bit more still. But a lot of that stuff turned into motion. If you see all the modern Nike ads, they aren't
Mm,
beautiful stills. These are like beautiful Houdini and cloth
that's true.
sims and all this stuff flinging around. So there was this really beautiful mashup of product viz and motion design where you really had to get super close up on 3D, right? A lot of it's a different skill set and a different type of asset that our customers need to really be able to zoom way in and see every little fiber and every detail. And
Mhm.
that's really what Grayscale Gorilla represents, is the ability to really get in close. We have this amazing capture process. We ship materials in from all over the world to capture them on these museum quality capture devices, and allow artists to really get in and see every little, scratch and every little detail on these assets and materials. So the progression was always had animation in it. Our tools pretty early on started to have easy animation. I know Mike was mentioning Signal, the ability to animate without keyframes, so many things. And this is probably true in gaming, where you might want to make something just move in the corner, you know, move up and down, let's say. Signal allows you to do that without needing to keyframe it and, you know, copy and paste and loop all this stuff. So you get to really focus in on what you do best as an artist and let tools speed this stuff up for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Oh yeah, there you go. You got the
Yeah,
demo
yeah.
reel. So you can see it's a different skills, or it's a different visual palette and a different kind of world. But in the last 5 years, all of these worlds have combined, like collided and combined, right? Cinema 4D artists are now in Unreal, and they're using all of these amazing Unreal tools and the new motion tools. They're in Houdini, you know, making all this crazy simulation stuff. And then of course we have Blender. So while we started as a very Cinema 4D centric company, we found that our own customers were dabbling in 3D. No longer did you have to spend 10 grand for a license, or even 3 grand for a cinema license. You can get a membership. You can get Blender for free. You could at least start to use Unreal for free. You know, like there are ways into this. So that's been kind of our trajectory over the last few years. And thanks for playing the pretty real. That sometimes just seeing it shows it way better than I could explain it.
No, absolutely. I think both things go together, hearing the story as well. And one of the things that I always ask when anybody that is getting, like, you know, here I'm talking to them and stuff, is that I like a lot of people see these companies, and even, like, you know, smaller companies like, you know, KitBash and Grayscale Gorilla, like they see a company and therefore like the human element is lost, and they like, a lot of people don't understand that this comes from passion. It came from, so can you talk a little bit about the inception of the company and like the passion behind it, and like that world statement that you guys wanted to make about like, this is going to be the best company ever?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, there's quite a few good questions there, and I'm going to try to kind of tie it into the merger too, because I think there's a lot in common between how these two companies, you know, came together. So yeah, that when you say like, hey, there's like a passionate part of the start of the company, man, I feel that for sure. I've always loved the idea that every music video and every movie I saw and every video game I've played was made by other passionate humans that that created all this. None of this existed until somebody with an interesting idea and a lot of passion and a lot of craftsmanship put energy behind it and made the Thriller music video that I was obsessed with as a kid.
I was obsessed with that as well.
You know, like I see these things, and I'd go to school and they'd ask me what I wanted to do for a living, and nowhere in the books did they ever say you can go work on music videos. That was never in any book that they presented to me as a kid. And I was like, where's the chapter? Where's this missing chapter? There's magicians and there's people, there's DJs, and there's people that made the Thriller music video. Like, where's the chapter on that? I only see lawyer and doctor and, you know, like good professions, but I didn't see myself in them. So when it came to working in this industry and making title sequences and being able to play on a computer and play in 3D and do this for a living, I was already at a place where, you know, I had so much passion and so much interest and so much excitement behind it. But when it came to starting the company, it was really that shift between really loving what I was doing. I was working on, you know, at the time I was doing the Conan O'Brien title sequences and sequences for HBO movie or
sounds like
shorts.
Cool work.
And yeah, very cool work. Like you know, for this industry, I was working at an incredible studio, but something still tugged on me that said, I can make tools and I can make videos that can be a part of the industry. Not make something that, you know, that just is, you know, a commercial that's not going to be aired in a few months. There was an interest to me to really kind of dig deeper into the behind the scenes, just like I did as a kid. Like, let's be as behind the scenes as possible. And what's more behind the scenes than making all these tools? So to me, it was a real blend of education, teaching people, you know, everything that I've learned in school and everything I've learned working at all these studios, combined with creating plugins and assets and all the stuff I talked about to really speed up workflow. And to me, I was obsessed with Red Giant, right? I was an After Effects nerd, and I just like loved the idea that you can make a tool that made After Effects even more fun and more powerful. So that was the kind of start of the company. We had a couple plugins, and over time, you know, now we have, you know, over, gosh, 36 plugins and, you know, thousands of assets and materials and lights, softboxes and HDRs. We're really well known for beautiful studio lighting. You know, we've really grown since then, but it did start really heavily with a passion for helping and a passion for creating things that make the world a little better and make the world a little easier, even if it's for this, you know, small little industry at the time. Now it's a big old industry, but at the time,
Yeah,
it was
that's
a
so
little
cool.
smaller.
No, but it's really cool because I like the more I talk to you, and this is the first time for everybody in the chat that is watching. It's the first time that Nick and I meet. Mike and I met a bunch of times, but Nick and I, this is the first time we're doing it live. But I can see a lot of the traits that I found when I speak with Max and Banks. Like the energy is there, the passion is there. So I'm guessing you guys knew of each other for a long time before the merger, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I met Banks and Max years ago, and we became fast friends and peers, really. We realized we were in a really similar industry, obviously, in asset creation and in the 3D industry, but with very different markets, right? And it was a market that we didn't really necessarily serve. And it was something that was very interesting, of course, from both angles. So we found ourselves talking to each other a lot. Hey, how's it going? What's going on? Is everyone using Blender? Is it gonna, you know, like all those kind of industry things? We found ourselves really sharing a lot of the details, you know, kind of behind the scenes, like peers would at an event. Started seeing each other at events, and over time we realized, you know, we had a really similar mission. We were helping artists create, you know, worlds, right? And they were different markets, but they were very similar missions. And honestly, there's some of the similar technology. And KitBash was, I think, really ahead of the curve with using USD and really going down that path. You know, so we started talking about what it could look like if maybe we work together. You know, we serve different markets. We can continue to do that in some ways, but what if there was a cohesive way to work together and really bring all of this stuff to all 3D artists instead of, you know, having artists have to go to all these separate websites to get it. And we could talk more about this later too, but I think there's a huge shift in 3D artists in general. Because the software was so expensive, because the machines were so expensive, you had to be very specialized. You were a Maya artist, you were a Maya modeler, and that's all you did. You were a lighter in 3ds Max, and that's all you did. And now, especially, you know, Cinema 4D made it so you can kind of dabble and play and go in between After Effects. But now, oh my gosh, you can play in Unreal on the weekend and learn how to do real time, and then learn how to do crazy cloth sims in Houdini, have all these indie licenses, and really jump between projects. The problem is there's no real easy way to get all your crap between all these places. There's all these formats, and you know, we've had QuickTimes and we've had JPEGs in the 2D space and in the video space forever, but there's no version of that for 3D. You can bake it, and sometimes it works. I heard you guys talking a little bit about this earlier. But what we really looked at when, you know, we talked about merging KitBash and Grayscale Gorilla was, let's see if we can actually build the place where we can bring all the stuff that you need as an artist in between all these platforms and really help you as an artist move between the stuff. And when you need the highest quality assets, I know you guys have been talking about KitBash models. When you need those kind of details for your scene, you have well thought out, well designed all the kits and everything that KitBash has been building over the years, and all the, you know, super close up, highly detailed design materials and lighting and animation tools you need from Grayscale Gorilla. So we looked at what that could look like, and you know, we have a lot of things planned and exciting stuff to show you soon. But that was kind of the start of it, was realizing how similar we really were in culture too, and like you said, in passion of just all being artists ourselves. We all come from the industry, and now we want to, you know, make everyone's job easier and more beautiful.
Amazing. That is an amazing answer. And I think, like, this is why I love to work with you guys, because I feel like that passion is mutual in so many ways. And especially when you get to it, like a lot of the things that you mentioned, I can relate to. Things used to be so difficult back in the day. And I remember like having a license for Maya, at least when like early 2000s when I started. Like I remember going to university at 2000 and 2002 or something in London. There was an expo. And at that point, there was Alias Wavefrom. You guys probably remember this before Autodesk. And I was studying, and I remember asking in the booth how much would it be to actually get the Maya, and you guys probably remember as well. But if you want to buy it, you get like this big thing like this,
big box
with a lot of discs that you have. It takes you like about a month to install disc by disc, and then with the manual. But the license was incredible. It was like 20 grand or 10 grand or something like that. It was unattainable, especially if you wanted to learn the stuff. And there was always this idea in your mind of like, I want to be a 3D artist, but I cannot afford it and I'm broke. So how can I actually do this? And going from that in 20 years and then now being in a place that you have a bunch of different softwares that you can jump between, and they're all accessible in some way or the other. And seeing Maya as cheap, even though it's not cheap, but in comparison to before, it's very, very cheap. So
we're in the best timeline when it comes to someone out there that wants to learn this stuff. You know, we all know the story of Blender, Unreal. You could go start using right away.
100%.
There's online tools. You can grab iPad apps. Like there's so many entry points now. After Effects is stepping up their 3D side of things. So however you wander into this world, there's so many paths for an interested artist. That was harder to say than I thought. An interested artist. And the last few years has just been exploding when it comes to the ability to learn all this stuff.
It's been incredible. It's been incredible. So just as a break, I think Carlos is asking if my mug is a Lego head, and yes, it is. It's a Lego head. Yeah.
That's great.
I could not buy it. I had to do it. We all have one here at home.
Yeah. So actually, if we're talking about mugs, I'll go grab one.
Oh, you have a special mug?
Yeah. Nick, do you have a mug? A special mug?
Oh gosh, I don't have a special mug, but I'm drinking water the whole time.
Okay. My
I
special
got a boring
mug
black thing here.
That's it.
It's not like a Lego head, but this is from Akira. It's my Akira mug.
Jealous, immediate jealousy. Absolutely. Nice one. So I hope that answers it, Carlos. So now that you guys obviously have merged now, right? You know, I've been talking to Mike and I like behind the scenes and stuff, and I know there's a lot of exciting things, but one of the questions that came to mind immediately is basically the world of games, right? And I know that obviously you guys are mostly in the commercial world, but since you guys have animations and you guys have artists that do animations and you have all that knowledge on the commercial side, is there a willingness to kind of like come over to the dark side and actually do some 3D animation in Engine and like, you know, do all this stuff, plugins for us animators? That would be amazing.
That's so great to hear. Absolutely. Gaming, from me, just as as a person, I love gaming. Like I've been a gamer. I had an Atari, you know, I had I had all the Nintendos, I had everything, and continue to play. So it's not the dark side for me. I love that industry, and I love the history and how much you could pull off with, you know, especially back in the day with like no tech, and how in the heck did they do PlayStation 1? What the heck is going on? So I'm a fan. And then of course, as a company, we really focused on this, essentially what I did for a living, which didn't have a ton of gaming in it. But now that we're, you know, merged and we have this opportunity, absolutely, I think there's some incredible things that we could do for that industry, for VFX, for gaming, really looking at what you as an artist need. So it's been really cool. I've been diving deeper into Unreal. I learned it a couple years ago just to get the basics, but recently been playing a lot more and really understanding the workflow and the new challenges you have when you don't always have a timeline. You know, you need things to play during game in a more of a procedural kind of way, and what kind of animation tools, how those would be different. So absolutely, we're looking into that for sure. What problem are you bumping into, Harvey? Let's go. I'm going to turn this into a brainstorm. You know,
brainstorming. Yeah. Well, I think everybody that is watching this that is actually an animator, either now or later on the edit, they will understand that, like, one of the biggest problems, I should say, that we have in this industry when it comes to animation is that things have been stale for the longest period of time. So like 2D, then 3D, and then things kind of became stale because we have Maya. For a moment there, we had 3D Max for a bit, but then you had Maya, and then we just kept with Maya. And then since Autodesk took over, and props to Autodesk, they're great people, but you know, things have been the same. Like you actually create an animation, create an FBX, go into Unreal, import the thing, and then you start working in Unreal. Now, since for the last 5 years, I think Unreal has been doing a massive push to make sure that you can animate in engine. But the problem that we have a lot of the time is very much the fact that Maya is too good of a software to animate. And if once you get used to it, it's so cozy and so nice, and you can just get your animations perfectly. And I think Epic has a lot of work to be done, and they're doing it fast, which is amazing. But I think we need, basically, from now until Epic sorts it out, hopefully at some point in the next 5 to 10 years, we need a easier way to go back and forth. And the ideal scenario that we need in games specifically is that we need to work on a live environment. We need to work in engine. So designers work in engine, coders work in engine, but anybody that needs a DCC spends kind of like 50-50, or like like at least a big quantity of time in their DCC before they go into engine to check it out. And then you have to constantly go back and forth. So anything that we can have that basically makes that bridge easier, this is why I'm so excited about USD and some of the things that you guys have, is a massive win. And it's there for the taking, because we've been doing the same way, everything the same way for so many years. I know studios, I've worked in studios before that create their own solutions to transport things back and forth, and they do amazing things. I'm not going to name the studios, but you can actually have almost like codify an engine in Maya and just basically have a lot of your lighting and a lot of your like modeling in Maya, and then go back and forth quickly. But you need your own bespoke engine to be able to do those things.
Right.
And nobody has one of those nowadays, right? So yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure that. Oh, go ahead, Nick. Sorry.
No, sorry, Mike. I just you just saying USD, right? Like that is one of the amazing things that KitBash and Cargo has really been working hard to develop with, and there's definitely like a future coming where there's less of that, right? Like
that'll be amazing.
3D is so complicated. It's always, every particle system to support every little detail is going to be very hard. But when we're talking about rigging, we're talking about modeling, we're talking about textures, we still haven't figured that out. And USD gets us a lot of the pieces for us to really help solve those problems.
Yeah.
Mike, sorry about that. What popped in your
I was
head?
just going to say, it makes sense that studios are trying to bring the game environment as close to their DCC as possible,
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I've seen lots of behind the scenes stuff with Naughty Dog, who uses Maya as like almost like their game engine,
Yeah.
and but then again, like it's a huge investment, and they're a big company, and it makes it work. But there's times when and it's really cool when like a studio says, here's all of our like assets in like a 5.2, and you can like dissect it and all that kind of stuff, which you wouldn't be able to do because they have their own bespoke situation. And
Yeah.
trying to get away from that would be really expensive too.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of studios nowadays, like, well, why build a whole new engine when we can use, five, when we can use like Unity or Unreal or
That's
now
it.
Godot as like
Yeah.
it's feature packed. How
Yeah.
do we make it better for ourselves?
Completely. Yeah, no, I think that idea of building engines was something that it was true maybe 15 to 20 years ago. And everybody had to have their own engines. I think it's less so nowadays. I think big players like CDPR, for example, they had their engine for all this time now moving to Unreal. And there's a lot of things that you can see that if you tweak the things the right way, you can make the game your own, which is a thing that people actually want to do in Unreal. But yeah, having like experts with engineering knowledge like yourselves, kind of like giving a little bit of love to the animation world and giving us the plugins and those bridges and stuff, it will go down a storm. You guys will be probably marked as saints in the animation community forever and ever. Be great.
We'll start with thank yous, and then we'll graduate to saints. Yeah,
Saints
we'll
after.
get there. Yeah.
Amazing. So we kind of like talked around it, but now that you actually are like, so two-part question, I guess. Like the merger, like I don't know, probably you don't cannot talk details, but like what goes into a merger of two companies like KitBash and Grayscale Gorilla in order to make that happen? And second, what are some of the things that you can disclose about the future of the collaboration and where we're going next?
Excellent. I can talk about that. So, what goes into a merger? Man, you get, first of all, the biggest thing is making sure that two companies and two cultures can come together. Okay, we could. I don't think we're all interested in all the lawyers and all the other stuff that happens, but it's really, looking at two similar companies, similar size, and making sure that when this becomes one, will it be 1 + 1 = more than 2, or is it going to be we had two good ones and we tried to combine it and now we got 1.5? Okay, so that's really the most challenging thing when it comes to a merger. And the good news is I've known obviously Banks and Max for quite a long time, got to meet a ton of the team, and really saw a lot of the similarity when it came to the culture and the artist focus and a lot of things that we really have been at Grayscale Gorilla for a long time. So that was the biggest piece, right? Like that, I think, is the most kind of emotional work and thinking through work that has to go into any time two companies come together.
Yeah.
And then, you do the business stuff, right? Like you combine the payroll, you combine all that stuff, right? Like there's all the efficiencies you get, but the real big piece is the 3D industry isn't what it used to be. It was very niche. It was very small. It was a kind of a side thing over there. All those nerds are doing this weird 3D thing, and now it is one of the fastest growing industries. All the stuff we just talked about, free or inexpensive software and YouTube, and you can go learn this stuff, anytime you want.
Yeah.
Really showed us that the 3D trajectory and the amount of artists that are in this world is exploding. And so a lot of what goes into, I'll just try to make this generic to any merger, but I'll just speak to ours. A lot of what was exciting for us was combining forces. We had a lot of similar technology, a lot of similar mission, and we knew that when we're together, we can serve more customers. We can bring our tools to more platforms, just like you were asking, Arvi, and really make a bigger dent in this industry that we love and want to be a part of and want to help artists. So let's bring this together. And while we still have, you know, different markets, and we'll continue to, there's so much more we could do now that we're sharing some of the back end and the tools and USD and all the hard work that KitBash has done in that world, and all the, you know, animation tools that we've you know, kind of honed over the years. What happens when we really start to cross into these other markets, which I guess leads to your other question, which is like, what can we share? So, I mean, I think the big obvious mission is that we are working together to build one platform, okay? One place for any artist to go when you need the best looking 3D assets. There's a lot of junk out there. We've all searched for free materials or free anything, and you know, some of it's okay, but it's always mixed.
Yep.
We know that when you're working professionally and you're working on something important, that you want to reach into your toolbox and know that when you search for a model or a texture or lighting or animation tools, that what you're getting is super high quality and it just works. Like, first of all, it just works. Second of all, it's beautiful, it's well thought through, it's designed. And we know that combining this together, creating a bigger place for artists to search and find those things is going to be a hit, and also super useful for artists. And then tools. Honestly, tools, I think that is it's really something we're looking really deep into. How do we bring tools to other platforms? Do we just bring it over as is, or are there unique ways that, like, an Unreal artist wants to use these tools versus a Cinema 4D artist?
Yeah.
So that's, you know, more stuff that I'll share when we're ready. But I love asking you questions, Harvey, about some of the challenges you have, and even seeing what the real challenges are in these industries, so that we can go solve them.
100%.
Yeah, the biggest way to say it is we see a ton of complexity. The complexity somehow didn't go away. It became more complex now that we're jumping between all these different platforms. And we want to solve it. We want beautiful assets, and we want to solve that complexity when it comes to working in multiple different DCCs.
That's amazing. So that's a great answer. And it sounds like the future is bright. Carlos has
We're
a
really
question.
excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds great. Carlos has a question for you. Is it more expensive to have everyone new on the company getting used to the specific software you have, instead of moving to the industry standard one? And I guess that's part of the question as well, about the software and the coming together and working together, right?
Yeah, I guess I read that as like, all right, you're starting a company or you're starting a project, and it's like, do you know, and that we could extrapolate this into the company as well, but is it better for everyone to go move on to the same system and we all learn the new thing, like, hey, we're all doing this in Unreal? Or is it better, like, we got a Maya expert and a Cinema 4D expert, let's let them stay experts?
Yeah, I think that's what I mean.
And do it. And I'll say something quick, and Mike, it looks like you have something to add too. I think that is what we are excited to help do. We love the idea that there could be, like you said, someone animating in Maya that loves it, and it's cozy, I think you said. They love it in there, right? And they don't necessarily want to change their workflow. They've been proficient in this. They love what they do, but bouncing between all these things is very hard. We think artists should stay where they're working their best. It's not necessarily happy. It's like where they do their best work. Stay where you do your best work. Use the software that's specialized to do those things. And then when it comes to putting it all in Unreal so that we can make it real time, let's make that easier. Or when it comes to bringing it all into Cinema 4D to composite it all and do all this stuff, let's make that easier. So
Yeah.
I think our bet is that everyone specialize in what they're great at, and we'll make it easy to jump between it. That's kind of a lot of how I would think about the future.
That's
Mike,
great.
what did I miss?
didn't miss anything. I think it's an advantage. So there's a different lens to look at this, and that's what are the problems that we're trying to solve, and let's set ourselves up to solve them. So if we're trying to solve a problem of the interoperability, the best thing to do is to have a team that needs to be interoperable, and that means that we have people that use Cinema 4D, Maya, Max, Blender, Unreal, and our team gets to solve those problems because it's a problem that we have. So is it more expensive? Depending on how you look at it. If everyone was on the same software, there'd be some things that are easier, but we're trying to make it easy for ourselves and to solve problems for everyone else with those same problems, with the same challenges. So it's better for us to solve it internally, because we know that if we solve it internally, we can solve it externally.
Yeah, that's a great answer, because I think we've been in a world where it's either this software or that software, or what kind of software the studio uses and stuff. I think it would be awesome to be in this future where you are a video editor and you have to choose between Final Cut Pro or Premiere or DaVinci, and it really doesn't matter. It's a personal option because they all do the same thing. They all export the files in the things that you want, and it's all good. And I think that will be an amazing way of actually working, where you can just go from one to the other, and you really like is your own preference, which is great to get the same result.
Yeah, and
That makes
I
sense.
guess the other thing too is that there's going to be more. There's even more than that we haven't even mentioned yet. Like there's so many other software that people are using to do fun and interesting things with that. Like as we solve the problems of going through like these major ones, it becomes easier to, if other things emerge, to include those in the future as well.
Yeah,
Like
it
I said,
kind
we
of
have 17 of them.
makes it broader, so all of a sudden you can use more things, right? Instead of, because there is some softwares that don't understand each other, and you have to find converters and things like that, right?
Yeah, and some software is introducing 3D into their, like After Effects now has a lot of 3D that is included inside of it. You know, Nick knows this deeply. So it's
Hmm.
like, oh, okay, if we've built to be interoperable between these two, can we actually get the same stuff into After Effects to open up a whole different type of audience there to utilize? Like, what if we could have a kit inside After Effects? What would that look like, or any other type of thing?
Yeah.
So solving these problems actually expands what we're able to do, and then the industries that we're able to affect becomes much bigger.
Okay. So, like we have 20 minutes left. So I'm curious about the inner workings of things. And obviously you guys can only share so much, because I'm pretty sure you guys have specific ways of working that you don't want to share. But when it comes to kind of creating, for example, a kit from beginning to end, right? Obviously, before it was KitBash only. Now you guys obviously have great scale gorillas, so I'm pretty sure that maybe the textures are made by by other people. But how would that process go from beginning to end when you finally have, because you have an engineering section as well that people don't take care of. And I only know this because I spoke with you, Mike. For me, before it was very much like you guys make the kits and put it in a piece of software, and then you just download it. And I know now, after speaking with you, Mike, that it's not that easy. There's a lot of optimization in things that happen behind the scenes about breaking it into different. So if you don't mind explaining exactly how it starts and then basically gets sold in the end.
Yeah, I think in Nick, now that I've gotten to know the other assets, I can kind of, I'm trying to get my desk up, and now it's fighting me. Um, it's interesting how similar the process of building an asset collection and a kit have been, but
Mhm.
to the broad strokes are, we start out with a concept, and that is like, what do people need? What are people asking for? What's our portfolio like? Where do we have breadth and depth, and where do we think that we're missing something? So we get feedback from obviously our user base, both user bases, and then we get feedback from other studios, and then like internally, like, okay, so what makes sense? And then a lot of the times we'll have a concept jam, and uh, we have a big idea jam, and we'll kind of figure out how would these asset collections and kits, what would those actually look like, and we'll try and generate a lot of ideas quickly visually. um, then we'll just say that those are greenlit, and we put those into the schedule. We obviously have software and all that stuff to get things scheduled. But then it goes into the concept stage, and both Grayscale Gorilla and KitBash 3D, they have concept stages where we generate the ideas through various means. But we have concept artists, we have art directors, we have all that kind of stuff that kind of helps to put things together into a cohesive package of like, this is what we're going to try and build. Here's the mood. Here's the emotions that we're trying to get out of it. Here's how we want it to feel. And that can be through models, through materials. What is it that we want to make sure people have at their fingertips?
Sorry to stop you there, but
Sure.
it's incredible because this is why I like to learn about like the adjacent part of the animation, because we don't think about modeling as feeling and emotion. But now that you said it makes complete sense. And it's actually quite interesting to actually kind of like think about modeling in that because to me it's all about the animation. That's basically what it is, but it's actually quite interesting. So I just want to like highlight that is.
If you think about, okay, building a beautiful skyscraper, in 3D, we get to cheat. We don't have to get concrete in, and we don't have to, make haul steel in and get all these people to build it. But to make a beautiful skyscraper, you can't cheat the design side of it. You can't cheat that part. That has to be someone who understands architecture and understands how to build something that feels to scale when you look at it and looks correct. And all the art and design that goes into creating a product. We don't have to, build all these physical things out of wood or clay or anything. We get to go sculpt them in digital land, but you can't cheat the design process. So everyone, every asset, every material, every building, I know KitBash has this sense as well, has to be very thoughtfully designed, architected. You're an architect at first before you go build it. You can't just, I know what a building looks like, because then it looks like a kid, drew a house. Looks like I drew a house. I'm not good at art.
That is incredible to me. Yeah,
but that's our process. You kind of sum up a little bit of it on both sides, which is we take that part seriously. You can't get rid of that part. And we work with incredible artists that understand how how beautiful things are built. And then we do the 3D part and make it beautiful and make it easy for you guys to download and all the amazing stuff that the team does. But it starts with making it beautiful first.
That is incredible. Yeah, that is okay. So please continue, Mike, because that is, I think, is really important for people to, because it's something that is not the world of animation, but yeah, it's really interesting to actually find out that we have the same language on both sides, right?
100%. And what Nick said was really important in that we try to make sure that that's discovered and known before we actually go build, because the whole chain needs to have that vision and the direction where we've designed and curated, and then through that comes really great models and materials. So then we model it, texture it, all the things we talked about earlier, where we use Maya, Cinema 4D, Blender, and we use Painter and Designer, and we do all the modeling and texturing of that. And through that, tons of iteration and art direction and back and forth, and that is how that process works. Not very glamorous in that there's no special sauce other than we take it very seriously and we look at the process, and we are always making things better every kit, every asset collection. We
Learning from the last.
do retrospectives on like what worked, what tools could we use to make X, Y, and Z faster, because with every kit and asset collection, it's different, it's new, there's something else that kind of challenges us. So we try and reflect on that. But then once that's completed, it has to go through a process of getting it ready to be published, and there's a lot that goes into there on a technology side. How do we make sure that it works in Houdini and Cinema 4D, Redshift, and Blender, and like Unreal? There's a whole bunch of engineering back end, that we've developed systems for to make that work. getting it all into USD. And then for like gameplay ready kits, for actually every kit that we build nowadays, it also has to have collisions, and it has to
Of
make
course,
sure
yeah.
that it
You know, you have
does all
collisions.
the
Yeah.
stuff that makes it work. And then on top of that, you know, there's not just the 3D production side. Then there's how do we market? What's the audience? What are all the things we want to make sure that people know about each asset collection that makes it special, and that why you should use it. And so that whole package, you know, takes a long time, and there's a lot of effort that goes into each one. And you know, that's kind of how the asset collections and kits are created and then
Yeah. That's amazing.
shown to the audience.
And how long does it take from beginning to end to create a kit?
Like if there was no in between time, because sometimes, you know, there's different projects going on,
Mhm.
but it can take, you know, 4 to 6 months for like an entire
Wow.
process of like ideation through, you know, and yeah, through the actual final.
Yeah,
And
final.
some are much smaller, some are bigger, just because of complexity, because we have so many things that we can do now. We can do a substance material kit, we can do a prop kit, we can
Yeah.
do different material collections, different asset collections. So yeah, it's not, I mean, I'll tell you that that process has gotten a lot more efficient over
Of
the last
course.
few
Of
years.
course. Yeah, I can
But
imagine.
you know, we've updated and changed our way of working quite a bit, and we're doing that now. Now that we're merged together, one of the
Yeah.
things I was going to mention that is a real big benefit of merging is perspective change. We have different perspectives on both sides, get to see things in a new light, and we're discovering things right now that we never knew were possible. Like,
Mm,
oh, if you did something that we would do for motion design with a KB asset, you get something that's wholly different that people probably don't know can discover. And the
that's cool.
opposite's true. Like you take a grayscale gorilla asset, have it be textured, and like, okay, well, what is, or having their materials in a kit, what does that look like? How does it feel? How do we show people that this is all actually a big possibility, and we're
Yeah.
becoming
That is
yeah.
that is so cool. And so one of the things that I would like to say, like before we wrap up, is very much that a lot of the things that happen in the industry, and for everybody that are out there that has been in the industry for a while, is that normally you actually get into your bubble of what you do in your department. Doesn't matter if it's art or engineering or whatever, and you don't really know. Well, even though you know what you need from other departments, you don't know how they actually go about it, which then creates sometimes, especially on AAA studios that are really massive, creates these bubbles that my department is more important than everybody else's because of these reasons, because I understand it. And then you don't understand the adjacent things. And it becomes a bit of a problem because like then like my stuff is more important than yours, but then you think the same way and it's all that stuff. And I think these conversations are super important so people understand because we need models as animators for our stuff that we do. But I don't know an animator that hasn't thought that animation is more important than modeling, and I don't know any modeler that hasn't thought that the opposite way. And I think that like coming together and understanding both worlds makes complete sense because like you mentioning Mike about the design language, like you mentioning Nick about the design language, the architecture, you mentioning Mike about the feelings and what you're going to portray and stuff. That's exactly how we talk about it, about your stuff. It's the same way, but we talk about it amongst ourselves, not so much with other people, because we think that only we understand it. And I think that these things are super eye-opening because we all want the same. We all want to create beautiful things. Some like we do it by movement, you guys doing by, having static objects looking amazing. And I think that the passion is always there, and we have that in common. So, with that being said, I appreciate you both so much for being here with me, especially Mike. You've been a trooper for 3 hours talking to me. I appreciate it. And Nick, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, your experience, your journey. It's been absolutely fantastic. And I hope everybody in the stream enjoyed it. Thanks for all the questions and all the stuff that you guys mentioned, including the Lego mug. Any last questions, Nick, Mike, well, before we wrap up?
Yeah, Harvey, I just want to thank you for having us. And you mentioned something there at the end that that I find myself thinking about a lot, which is everything around us that isn't a mountain or a tree or some dirt was made by a human, like I said earlier. And in some ways, that is how we get to do all this stuff. Maybe not by saying, hey, what I'm doing is more important, but we should be able to pick up my Wacom pen and I use this little tablet and I don't think about all the hard work that went into making this, all the software and they had to manufacture this and they had to ship it to my house and keep the software running. And I can blissfully be a little dumb about it and just use it as a tool and get more stuff done. And this is every tool. This is a fork and this is a hammer and this is software and this is the computers and the graphics cards that we all use and the frames on your wall and your dang Lego mug. Like all of these things were made by a human with a lot of energy behind it. And it's okay sometimes if you don't always think about all the hard work that went into it. But it is the way that we get to do all this amazing stuff by using tools and grabbing stuff that someone else worked really hard on. So I think there's something really beautiful there when it comes to creation. It sounds like we're all creators here. We're all making stuff. And that's the only way we can get any of this done is to use tools that other people have worked really hard to build. So thanks for giving us some time to kind of share our story about that too, and share some of our kind of ways that we're passionate about this.
100%. Mike, any last words?
No, it's been awesome. It's been the 3 hours have flown by very, very fast. So thank you, Harvey, for such a really fun and insightful conversation. This has been a blast, and I hope that people should definitely grab those free assets, and if they want to grab a kit, there's all that they can do.
Absolutely.
We want people to build and have fun building. So I think this is great, and this is just the beginning, right? This is just a starting point.
100%. We should do this once you guys do big announcements and have big things for us. Then we can do another one of these and talk more about it and do some demos and stuff. Now that it sounds like I'm pressuring you guys into do something, I'm not. I'm just. We should do this more often. Basically,
we're excited to share it for sure. We won't have to wait too long. We got some real fun stuff coming, so we appreciate it, Harvey. Thank you.
No problem at all. Okay, well, thanks everybody there on the comments. Thanks everybody that joined us. We highly appreciate you having you here. And then we see you all tomorrow in the same place, same time, same place. And next tomorrow is going to be all about the freelancers, freelance animators. We have a bunch of people coming in, very experienced people. It's going to be fun. So see you guys tomorrow. And until then, see you all. Bye-bye.